All right, welcome everyone to level 3. I believe it's class 3 of level 3, but that doesn't matter so much. We just need to keep moving through this. We have, I think, at least one person perhaps who hasn't gone through all these lessons yet, but it's here, and this is an open door. Anybody's welcome to be here and watch any video at any time. But it is a system that moves in order, and I'll show you the website of where to start in case you're finding this video now. So if anybody is finding this video now, definitely go to onlinemonastery.com, look at the home page where the introductory videos are, and then I'll show you right now where to go from there. Welcome, not saying names as we get started here, but welcome everybody who's joined in. All right, we waited a little bit longer, so hopefully everybody can try to be here, ideally before we start, but I understand. All right, let me do some screen share and just show everybody some basic things. All right, so here's our website for this project, onlinemonastery.com, the Anahat teachings. There's a 6-minute intro. Excuse me, it's AC in this room is so loud. Give me just a sec. I see the chat pod lighting up a little. Okay, welcome everybody who's joining in. Just want to be sure there are no technical issues. Okay, so you've got the introduction video in the bottom left here, about 6 minutes, and then the full 2.5-hour intro. If you're enjoying that, you're thinking, hey, I want to do this, then go to Anahat Meditation. The button itself, not the drop-down links below. This is bonus material, and important work in my life, but the Anahat meditation system itself is here. And basically, yeah, you can read this paragraph. You could read the original intro that we sent out announcing we're doing this. Lesson 11 is not here yet. It's a document I need to finalize on Samadhi, and we skipped it intentionally, but I also just need to get that training manual in place. But I'm glad we're doing it in this order. So we are working with lesson 12, which deals with out-of-body experiences now, and we're going to talk about it and answer your questions, and we should be able to hopefully finish out those teachings tonight. There's always more to teach, but I just need to give you the techniques tonight to use to get started. So again, if you're new to this, you haven't been through all these lessons, you probably don't want to start doing the techniques we're talking about. And I'll work to give the disclaimers as we go through the class. It's really just best to start at lesson 1, but hang out if you like. Just don't use techniques that you might not be prepared for. And again, I'll work to explain why. So we've got all the lessons here going through level 1. Then level 2 starts around here. And then we have, 2 classes so far on level 3 that are done. All the recordings are here. Anyone having difficulty downloading? Welcome. I needed to download it today. I somehow erased it from my hard drive here. I had to click on it a few times, but it looks like you can't click on the PDF image, but right below it says PDF as text. Click right below that, and I'll try to fix this later. I don't know why the button's doing that, but it'll work as long as you click where it says PDF, not on the icon itself. Okay, and then at the very, one of you asked, when are we gonna get like the astral projection workbook? That is lesson 12. So if you click on lesson 12, this is what opens up, and that's what I've been following along with. Okay, so that should have answered 2 questions there. And yeah, that's about what I needed to share with you about the website. So for those of you who are starting, start with that introduction and then watch the videos moving ahead. And then feel free to just do a 10 now, but again, be kind of cautious about going into really deep practices without good preparation. Okay, great. Yeah, I couldn't click on it either. Okay, good. Let me know. You guys can email me if there's any technical issues. All right, so I hope you've been enjoying your practice. I was doing the astral projection stuff on and off. I'm going to talk about some of the difficulties you find with it and why you just might want to not be doing it in your life now. But for about an hour before class, like, all right, let me really connect with what I'm teaching today. And it can be really hard to function when you're barely in your body, and it's real. Like, you literally are extracting yourself, your true self, you as spirit, from the physical body. And there's a lot of merit to that. There's a lot of good reason to do that, but it can also be very difficult in many ways. So one of you asked about being really tired after practicing level 3 stuff, the out-of-body stuff. which also involves samadhi and the focus on cosmic consciousness and ascension teaching. So we're going really high and in a sense really fast. Remember, we should be taking a month per meditation, but we're doing a week just so I can get all these recordings done, to know that they get out there, and then you can go at your own pace. But remember, it's usually like a month per meditation. So you might not really start the out-of-body stuff possibly for, I don't know, like 15 months or so, if you're going one video at a time to get to this point. Okay, so be patient with it, and we haven't finished all of level 3 teachings, which are going to help. Okay, so the question was, I'm really tired when I leave my body, or when you're released, I don't know if you got out yet, but as you're working, on those levels. And there's 2 major answers, which I want to cover now. We don't have a lot of Q&A before we continue with the teachings, but it's important. So here's the answers. One of the answers about how to not feel so bad when you're barely in your body and you're intentionally working to get out is to practice level 1 of the system. And I realized as I'm doing a lot of level 3 right now for your sake, to practice what I preach, basically to be where you are as I'm teaching you. It's really easy to forget about level 1, right? And the astral projection stuff is done lying down, and that's a lot easier, right? And it can be more blissful and enjoyable. So you might have found during this time that you're not sitting on the cushion as much as you could. You're not engaging the level 1 teachings. Remember, the whole reason this system came to me was because I was really good at leaving my body. I didn't realize how ungrounded I was. Compared to most people, I never really took the time to check, but like most people are really in their bodies. I was barely in my body in my 20s, and I could just lie down in bed at night usually and just kind of fall half asleep. So the body's asleep, I'm still awake. I invoke the vibrations, I leave my body, I fly around, I come back. And that was like kind of the norm. And they'll say, oh, most people don't do that, right? So that was great because it opened to all these incredible experiences that changed my whole life and helped me to know what my life's mission is. And, opening up to that level of spirituality is awesome in so many levels, including, like I said, like why you're here on this earth. Because the more you know who you are as spirit, the more you'll know why you're really here. Because eventually you have to integrate that awareness of, wait, but I am here. So it's that all about. I didn't like the way I felt a lot, right? Tired, ungrounded, anxious, just like, everything just on super high vibration mode. And the only thing that made that better in a spiritual sense, like a spiritual practice sense, was Zen meditation, which is largely descending down to the hara, right? But whenever I did that really intensely, all the out-of-body experiences and all the mystical experiences and the devotion and the connection, the source, it just, I don't want to say dried out, but it just wasn't there in my awareness. And I just felt like, wow, I'm in my body and I'm present and I'm here and I'm mindful. And there's so much merit to Zen practice because it makes you just here and real and in your body. But then I would, after, I don't know, a few weeks of that, a month of really doing that, my inner mystic, my inner devotee, my lover of God part, I couldn't live without that. And I couldn't live without the mystical experiences because you go for a while in life and then it's like, God, is this all there is? It's only physical. Maybe I'm just a body. Maybe I'm only the result of my brain, blah, blah, blah. Or you get caught up in the human and the ego and you can really doubt and question, is there really spirit? But once you leave your body, you're like, oh, well, duh. You're like, of course. And then when you're encountering the other beings out of your body, of course. So the mystical experiences, every so often at least, were really helpful for me to not lose faith and to remember I am a spiritual being having a human experience, not a human being. You can have a spiritual experience, like you may have heard that quote. All right, so while I'm trying to figure out how do you balance these 2 major extremes, that's when I had the revelation for Anaheim come to me. And it was the 6-pointed star moving through that pattern in the body, tracing out the star tetrahedron pattern. It's like, wow, that keeps me fully grounded, fully open to spirit, and with a fully open heart. Essentially, with all 7 chakras open, alive, and fulfilled, and more fulfilled and integrated every day. So the advice on how to not get so wigged out by doing level 3 is be sure you're still doing level 1 as well. All right, so if you're really doing this full practice, and there's, like we talked about last week, there's no supposed to's, there's no you must do it this way, right? You're learning different meditations and they're gonna evolve for you, but they lay a really solid foundation. So I would encourage you to, after your evening of out-of-body practice or out-of-body play, then when you wake up in the morning, do descending, and maybe only do descending to start, level 1, meditation 1, right? And get back into your body through descending. That'll pull the life force energy in. But, and we're going to talk about it tonight, the chakras a bit more. The second chakra, which is where we put our attention for descending at the hara, right, or Svadhisthana chakra is the Sanskrit name for that, or the Tan Tien, right, the Chinese name for that. Sorry, yeah. Yeah, Dan Tian, Tan Tian, but essentially, you know what I mean, right? You're putting your energy in your second chakra and not all your other chakras. So as you're doing all of level 1, you start moving into the heart and you're naturally moving through the third chakra, or by default, you move through the third chakra. Then you move up to your throat, or you go through your throat as you go up to your third eye, as we're doing ascending. Right, and ascending can go all the way to the crown as well, of course, without any real issue, because it's just this little gap anyway. And then eventually we drop down to the sexual energy, which is the other answer to the question. Okay, so, and you're moving your energy through the meridians of the arms and legs, right, when we're doing upper and lower body meridians. That is going to get you back into your arms and legs literally, because when you leave your body, when you come back in, it feels like you're a hand slipping into a glove, like you're literally sliding into your arms and legs again. And level 1 meditations 8 and 9, I think that's the right number, upper body and lower body meridians, all of that gets you back in your body. But then we have meditation 10 wings, which helps to remind us, no, I am a spiritual being, right? I am an angelic being, but I'm having a human experience. And then meditation, so 11, integration. We're integrating higher and lower, which is so important for the next answer to how do you not get so wigged out, tired, just whatever, when you're out of your body, or practicing in your body so much. So meditation 11 integrates the highest and the lowest, which is the sexual energy and the spiritual energy. So we'll get to level 3, just a very brief introduction in a moment as the second answer to that question about how do I not be so tired when I'm doing this. And then meditation 12, structure, the blending, the infusing of all of this energy into the core of your marrow, right? That deals with your bones, and yogic or Taoist bone breathing is what it's been called, but in Anahat, where you're just essentially packing the bones with chi, with our life force. You won't be as tired as you're doing if you're doing that. But if you're only doing level 3 stuff, which is fine if you can afford, like financially and for your own energy level, if you can take lots of naps, you don't have to go to work. Like when I'm doing tons of out of body, I go into deep retreat, and I'm not working, or I'm not having to do anything. Just lock yourself away for a few weeks. COVID quarantine, as horrible as this has been in so many ways, it's great for a yogi, because I'm like, wow, lock me in a house on the top of a mountain? Are you kidding? Like, yeah, right? And then I don't care if I take 4 naps a day. I can eat vegan, vegetarian. I can, not be a functional human being. But if you need to be functional, you need to have energy, then you should practice level 1 primarily in the morning. In the evening, you can do level 2, and then practice level 3, right? So level 2, we're transferring our energy to the more subtle grids, which we're going to talk about a lot today. And then practice the out-of-body techniques, and that goes on all through the night. So I don't know why the other part of this question, then I have another answer. The other part of this question was, what was the other part of the question? Waking up at 3 in the morning, like as if somebody woke you up or whatever. I don't know why. I honestly don't. I know it's a significant time, 3 in the morning, but I don't know exactly why. I'm sure people have their theories, I could guess, but I don't know. Either way, energetically, something happens there. So I wake myself up, using an alarm at 3 in the morning, and meditate and go back to bed. But I'm not alone. in all of that, right? There are other non-physical beings, and a lot of the times they're there to assist you in having these experiences. So they could very well be waking you up. And now, you know, I guess, what can I say? At this level of talking about leaving the body, like when I teach a hypnotherapy school, I'm usually a little bit more toned down because there's some people who aren't so into that, you know, spirit guides and fairies and ascended masters and angels, right? But when you talk deep spirituality, well, it's all there and it's all real. So a piece of advice for leaving your body: pray, whatever you want to call that, ask. Ask spirit guides, ask higher self, whatever you're doing, you can pray to the highest, and those who need to hear will hear you. Like, I want to get out of my body. I want to experience God consciousness. Like, that would be, you know, a good prayer, not to go to the lower levels, go for the highest. I just wrote a recent blog based on a lot of different student emails that have been coming in called Seek the Highest. It should be out this Monday. The idea that we're caught up in these lower levels, so we think in those ways. But the advice in deep meditation is just to always seek the highest. So yeah, at night, you're working to leave your body, 3 in the morning, some magical time about that. But you know, if you're willing to do that, but yeah, you're going to be tired in the morning. So do your best just to do level 1 in the morning, 2 and 3 in the evening would be a pretty good balance to that kind of thing. Okay, the other answer to what to do, hang around, which I know you are, the person who asked, until level 3's advanced sexual energy teachings. Remember, I said there's 3 levels of working with the sexual energy. There's the unexcited Jing, or what's called cold Jing. It just sounds so weird. But, you know, Chinese medical terms, I'm sure if you heard the exact Chinese, it wouldn't sound like, you know, that word cold. But unexcited is the idea that you haven't stimulated the sexual energy. Most people who just have sex, they do when they do, you know, 10 minutes and great. But it's just a very human, you know, not, I don't want to say not spiritual. It's not dealing with spiritual practice, right? For somebody who's spiritual, everything is spiritual, right? Even the brief sexual experiences people have, you know, like, so, you know, the 10-minute experiences, and usually that pretty much always lead to ejaculation, right? You're working for that orgasm and that release, and then you go to bed. And for the guy, I can't speak as much for women because I've been experimenting with the male body my whole life. It's very exhausting. It's very draining to be leaking that energy. So in level 1, we touch upon the sexual energy, but not all that much. And we're not doing the second phase of that, which is the excited sexual energy, where we intentionally stimulate it and then work with the Anahat meditation system. So we haven't really talked about that yet. And obviously that's going to be a very discreet professional level talk, but it's a crucial part of this practice. The third component of work with the sexual energy is what I call, it's not unexcited or excited, it's active. It's where the sexual energy, in a sense, is there all the time. And it's been sublimated, it's been transformed. It's not going to be what it was in the early stages of this being a normal human. So the active sexual energy is very similar to the idea that when we open our heart chakra, it should always be open, right? It's not like I open it sometimes. You want your heart open to love all the time, 360 degrees for all beings, and you're never closing that. Why would you ever close that once you know how to, once you get that thing open? Your throat chakra, you don't close it every so often. You live with the full sense of who you are to be able to express all of who you are. That's what this is all about, expression. So I'm not going to cover all the chakras right now, but we'll look at them in a moment in the workbook. Every chakra level is really important in Anahat. A lot of meditation systems only focus on the lower or the higher, or maybe the heart, but this asks us to focus on all 7 essentially every time we meditate. If you imagine a chakra open, then it's active. The second chakra, and it's really like first and second, because your sexual organs are very much at the first, like the vagina, clitoris, the penis, testicles, right, where you're feeling a lot of sexual energy. That is in the first chakra area. Second chakra, though, its primary energetic is pleasure. And in the idea of like Maslow's hierarchy of needs, where we need to get our base level needs met before we can do anything else. And that's first chakra: food, shelter, clothing, housing, money, like what we need to survive, right? Including the connection to the tribe as much as you need to be connected to others, you know, advanced yogis in deep meditation. I'm going to say we, it's like the natural feeling there. We don't need much. like, you know, I live along the top of a mountain. We don't need much when we're in deep meditative retreat. But obviously you need a connection, at least to the grocery store and to the post office. Like, you know, there's minimal human interaction that's still required. So once all of that first chakra stuff is met, food, shelter, clothing, money, your basic needs. In fact, I drove up here in the mountain. We got a nice Indian restaurant. It's probably a good hour drive, and then an hour back is the closest Indian restaurant to where I live. I drove out there the other day, got $150 worth of Indian food, put it in the fridge, and I'm like, good, I'm not leaving the house for a week. You know, like I got beautiful Indian food. I'm staying in the house. I'm meditating all day. And I've just been doing tons of meditation lately, like just hours and hours and hours. In fact, meditation becomes a habit where it's not just what you do on the cushion. You know, I'm on the cushion, I'm doing the lying down out of body practice. It's like, you know, my life is spiritual practice. It doesn't stop at some point. And that's my whole point here is all the chakras are open all the time. So once you get the first chakra part of your life good, right? Food, shelter, clothing, home, money, you don't have to ever think about money again. When all of that is clear and you don't really even have to work unless you're being of service and want to, like that's a kind of an ideal on the life mastery level of our work. So once you've mastered that relatively simple level, honestly, most people struggle with it, but once you figure out, oh, that's all I need, it's just we make it so complex. Food, shelter, clothing, home, money, and what you need for your connection to others. You know, and as much as you want, your connection to others. But that's just basic needs. Once that's met, when the Kundalini makes it to the second chakra, that's all about pleasure. And people are so weird about that. Right? You know, it's like, something's floating around in here. It was a fairy, I don't know. Okay, but I just blew it away. So the higher spiritual energy, right, that's supposed to be pure and chaste and virtuous and, you know, celibate and all just godly. And then you get your sexual energy. And that seems like the exact opposite of that. So once we get to the sexual energy teachings, we're going to talk about why the descending down to the sexual energy and the ascending up into spirit in Anahat meditation are happening all the time. So they start integrating. So what's above is below. And in a sense, what's below is above. And the heart, love, is in the middle, right? So in a sense, this is an introduction to that. You love who you are as a sexual being. And you love God. Because the heart, Anahat, is the center of ascending and descending, the higher and lower chakras. You want them all open and you want them all activated. So these advanced teachings are definitely not for everybody because people are really weird with sexual energy and they're very blocked and very disturbed. You know, look at humanity, right? Not you guys, but there's a lot of really disturbed people out there, and you don't want them practicing advanced sexual energy teachings. They would awaken things, activate things too quickly, and then they're going to just end up, and they don't know what celibacy means. You see what priests end up doing when they try to suppress their sexual energy. You can't suppress your sexual energy. You fully embrace it. So the answer to the long answer, but it's worth talking about now for many. So you guys can kind of grasp what this whole system is about as you're learning the majority of it now. So the answer to the question simply stated now. Number one, do level 1 meditation in the morning primarily, and do all of level 1, not just ascending, because it integrates you back into your whole body. And that'll get your life force energy back in your body. And then at night, do level 2 and 3. And then the other answer to the question is learn the more advanced sexual energy teachings that they do a lot of things, but there's probably 2 main ones. That you learn to conserve sexual energy, but you don't suppress it, you enliven it through your whole being. And it's just pure pleasure kind of all the time. Right? Like, I don't want to talk about it too much right now, but if you know how good I feel in my body, like we talked about that earlier on a little bit, I'm like, I want you guys to feel what I feel. It's like pure pleasure all the time. It's not suppressed sexual energy at all. That gives you a huge, so the answer to the question, how do I not lose so much energy? Learn the sexual energy teachings, which will come up with us in about 2 or 3 weeks. I believe we'll start to cover that. All right, thank you. That was a great question because it helped me to give an overview of the whole system. All right, so yeah, let's keep moving on. We'll do screen share. I have the Astral Projection Workbook open. I want to get through that. And then tonight we're primarily, let's just set up the screen one sec. All right, so remember you can download this now and look at it yourself. Let me know if I need to make it bigger or something, but I'm trying to, let's just try that out. All right, that should work. So you can see me enough and you can see, excuse me, what's on the screen. I want to get through any theory and talk about out-of-body travel so we can get to the techniques tonight. It's my intention tonight to explain all the techniques, teach you how to use them, and then possibly, depending on time, take you through, you see, shut off again, take you through a guided experience of all these techniques. And there is an Anahat meditation out-of-body technique, which kind of embodies, embraces all of what I'm going to teach you today. And if you just practice the Anahat level 3 meditation for out-of-body travel, yeah, you're not going to be in your body much at all. And again, I was doing it for like an hour before. What can I say? I'm closing my eyes like it's, as you're getting out, you're going to start to sense kind of your, you might say, the more subtle levels of your aura and the colors that go with them. Like you have chakras, you have an aura, and there's color. So as you're getting out, yeah, well, I don't know. What can I say? I was just doing it before, and it was really beautiful to be tapping into the more subtle layers of the aura. So well, whatever, we'll get into that. I just know I want to lie down and talk you through exactly what I do, but I won't be able to talk. Like right there, I'm like, how do you explain what's going on at these subtle levels? So I'm going to use the training manual and try to stay as linear as possible. And then let's work to get through this material. So we're on page 13 of the manual right now, chapter 4, understanding the train and its vehicles. All right, so here there's this line. And the paragraph talks about how long is the line? How many millimeters is it? How many centimeters is it? How many inches in it? How many feet is it? How many miles is it? You say, well, it's not miles long. Well, it is. It's like 0.000 something, 0.01 mile or whatever. The point is, in between here and here, how far is it? In between where we are and God, how far is it? Those are all relative, meaningless concepts. And more as we get to samadhi and out-of-body experience, as we most likely hopefully can get to next week, the idea of size, as we've talked about with cosmic consciousness and ascension into God beyond the beyond, you are not big or small. It's just you're so, like when we're in the bodies, we're so connected to the body, which is a relative size, and compared to trees and mountains on the planet, you're small. But if you could think about an atom, or just think of an ant, if that helps. Imagine an ant looking up at you. You're this colossal godlike giant, right? It's all relative. And somebody, when you leave your body, if you shrink your consciousness down really small, which you can do, at any time, we've talked about, you can be as small as an atom or as big as the universe. Your body is enormous compared to how small an atom is. And consciousness can shrink down to the size of an atom. So I'm saying this because as you're starting to get out of your body, I can mislead you to make you think you're an individual, separate self. You're going to experience that when you get out of your body. It's kind of like there's a subtle version of you who's a human, but that you is out of your body kind of pretending to be a human. You'll have an etheric body, you'll have an astral body, but those bodies, you need to remember, are the byproduct of who you think you are. Your mind manifests your astral and then your etheric and your physical body. It's a reflection of who you think you are. So the whole spiritual path is questioning, who are you? And out-of-body experience is awesome. So you can get out and say, okay, I am spirit. But remember, we're traveling in different planes and in different vehicles, and the rabbit hole always goes deeper. Okay, so I encourage you to read what's here if you haven't already. The idea of the observer, you as consciousness, is the main focus of everything. And we will get into that more and more with samadhi, as we talk about asmita samadhi, focusing on who are you, not necessarily, I want to get out of the body. Ask the question, who am I? Who's getting out of the body? And who's going to travel in the etheric body or the astral body? When we do soul travel, who is that? And how big is that you? And what is that you? And why is that you? Like really pondering that. Okay, so anyway, this one simple line is the idea realize most human thinking creates major illusions about who you think you are, because there's no distance from here to here. There's no distance between here and God. There is a physical plane, an etheric plane, and an astral plane. That's all real. But at the same time, it's also illusory in the sense that the physical plane is an illusion and the etheric plane is an illusion. Even the astral plane can be considered an illusion. All right, so as you're getting into this, just be willing to not know anything. It's probably the best thing to say. All right, then we have some words here for source, which we talked about a little last time, so let's just move on. These different levels, let's review very briefly. And remember, you have the planes and the bodies, like you have a physical plane and the physical body. As you start getting out of the body, the first layer you're going to encounter is the etheric layer. It's the first layer of your aura. As you're becoming aware of it through level 2, which is really helping, you will transfer your consciousness into those more subtle levels, and you're going to dwell on those levels more. Then as you get more familiar with the astral level, so don't worry about lower mind, number 5, and this is counting from the top down, by the way, because you could start from the bottom up. This is just from the top down. The main bodies we're concerned with are physical body, of course, but we're going to let that go in a lot of ways. But also remember to come back into it fully while we're here. We're not negating the human experience. We're fully integrating who we really are with the human experience. So the physical body, then over here to the right, then your etheric body is worth being aware of. But don't worry about like lower mind, higher mind, just the astral body. And then what you might call the soul body, but it's not a body, it's just you as soul, and you traveling around without your etheric or astral body. That's what we're moving towards. And that you, soul travel you, can go anywhere. You can explore the physical plane, etheric, astral, and all the way back to God, beyond the beyond. So you want to start when you're getting out of your body, you're flirting with the etheric, and then I told you how to do it. You just fly up really fast. You just fly up and let the physical plane and the etheric plane drop away, and you'll find yourself in the astral plane. That's been how my experience of how to do it. You just fly up into the sky and you just keep going. And you might ask for guidance for sure, but it's just when you're going up, there's an astral light. It's like the division between the etheric plane and the astral plane. You go through that light. It's not the light of God beyond the beyond, or God in the beyond state. It's not the light of God. It's just somehow like a buffer of light between, if you want to use human terms, between the etheric and astral plane. But I'm just encouraging everybody as you're getting out, hopefully more and more, or whenever you start to do that, start to ask yourself, is this the etheric body and the etheric plane? Is it the astral body or the astral plane? Because it's important to remember those aren't that much less illusory than the physical. The only main difference is they're not physical, but they're still finite, temporary, changing. I mean, they'll last longer. They're made of light, but they're still changing finite forms. The real question in the enlightenment path is, who are you? All right, so again, you focus on the highest and you'll go through these levels by default, but you don't necessarily stop on these levels. All right, so a lot of my experience on the lower levels, aside from God beyond the beyond, is there's still illusion there. There's still even though, yeah, you're a spiritual being, you are. But once you're in soul travel without your etheric or astral body, who are you as this kind of sphere, this known distance of consciousness? And then that's a really important thing once we come back into the body, because this whole question, it's just always this question of who am I? I can't emphasize it enough as I practice the out-of-body teachings more and more again to teach them to you again. Yeah, there's more advanced stages beyond what we're talking about right now, and I just need to plant those seeds. Okay, so just always be asking, who am I? Even when you're out of your body, right? Who am I? I'm on the etheric plane. I'm in the etheric body. That's great progress. Explore, come back, but then who am I? And, you'll contemplate what happened. When you have a major out-of-body experience, you're going to spend days or weeks being like, what was that? And, email me and we'll talk about every little detail of the experience, because there's so much to learn from any one out-of-body experience. Okay, so let's move on. We have those different levels. And then we have the 3 types of projection. So etheric projection, you're in the etheric body, the most dense of your subtle bodies. Then astral projection, the astral body, more subtle, than the etheric body. And remember, the higher up you go, the more real things become. But etheric and astral are still illusory. Soul travel is not illusory. Soul is who you are, created by God, or whatever you want to call that reality. There's an infinite consciousness, and you're a drop of that consciousness, and you're an eternally creative being. God created you, but you didn't create God, and you're not your own creator. There is that which created you. You want to find that source. You want to know that source. And then you want to know who you are, because the you is this eternally creative being. You are meant to, I love it in Conversation with God, the idea that you're not here to learn anything. You didn't come on earth to learn anything. God told you everything you needed to know. You already know everything you need to know. There's stuff to learn about the physical plane, right, living on earth, but that's not why you exist, right, or even why you're here for that matter. Right? Your purpose is grand and beautiful, and it's not just to learn something from a book. Right? You are created with purpose and meaning. That you is always recreating itself. You're not here to learn anything. You're here to recreate yourself in the highest, most glorious way you can imagine. You're here to recreate yourself in the highest, most glorious way you can imagine, always on any plane. That's why I love in Anahat meditation. We have the wings meditation to say, are you doing the angel thing or not? Are you doing the bodhisattva thing or not? Because anything else, I mean, it's like there's other forms. You can imagine being anything. But the idea, again, is focus on the highest and really continually ask yourself in this process, who am I? And how am I recreating myself at any moment? Are you just thinking you're a physical body? If you do, you reincarnate physically. If you know yourself as an etheric being, you'll hang out in the etheric for a while, but then you'll reincarnate again physically. That's kind of how that teaching goes. I'm not saying it's exactly what happens, but that's pretty much the theory in that model. And then if you're hanging on the astral plane for a while, you might stay there, but if you think you're human, you're coming, or if you have human desires and human agenda, you're coming back. The idea is to know yourself as soul, start practicing soul travel. When you do soul travel into the third eye, you as consciousness are the one that goes in. You don't take your astral or etheric body with you. Others will be able to see and recognize you when you're in the soul body. It's not a body. But they'll know that you're there, even if you think you're invisible. Right? We'll be able to sense your signature of you as soul there. You're a conscious presence. That's the essence of your being. So using the word soul lightly, but intentionally, you are soul. You are consciousness. And that you is the real goal of the path, because you, consciousness, are one with God consciousness, right? So self-realization is God realization. That's all that matters. Even when you're working to get out of your body, you really want to be asking yourself, but meditating on finding who is this me? Because there is a you who will get out. And that you is so important to find. That you is soul. And if you get out of your body and you don't see an etheric body or an astral body, good. Just focus on your target destination and go. Okay. So that's that. So you can read about it here. We have the different levels. It's important to different chakras. It's important to understand this in relationship to out-of-body travel. When you leave your body, what you experience will have a lot to do with what chakra you are dwelling in most of the time. When you leave your body, and we'll talk about this, I hope, tonight, when you leave your body with the Anahat system, you're using the geometric grids. And I'll give you a couple of points and a hint about, allude to it now. Your shoulders are 2 points, right? Very much a part of where the top of the descending triangle is. And the acromial process, the very edge of the shoulders, are 2 really good points to be aware of. Now, those 2 points can connect to your third eye. Those 2 points can connect to your heart. Those 2 points can connect down to your hara or even down to your tailbone. Right? That would form if you're lying on your back, and I'm sorry, no graphics for you, but imagine lying on your back, and there's your 2 shoulders, and then there's, let's say, your hara, right, your second chakra region. That would be the base of a triangle. But then that creates, it's the base of a tetrahedron, right? It's a 3-dimensional, because you have 3 points in the bottom, and those go up to 1 point. Okay, so if you can visualize that. Now, if the shoulders down to the hara is the triangle I'm visualizing, And again, I don't have graphics right now for you, but imagine shoulders down to the hara. If you focus on the hara a lot, then you're largely connected to your etheric body. And you need to understand that. All right, so first chakra, physical, is at the tailbone. And if you're focused there, like first, second chakra, then you're back in your body. And that's important when we're descending or wanting to integrate and be a functional human being. When you're working to get out of your body, a lot of focus is on the etheric plane. So if you're getting out, but you're still focused largely on second chakra, then you're going to be connected to that layer of your aura. Your aura, if you can imagine, here's a body, right? My body in meditation. You're looking at the physical, but imagine just one layer of the aura out. That's the etheric. Next layer out, we're just talking simply, would be the astral. Next layer out, you can call the causal or mental. And then you as soul are not necessarily the layer out. You're the consciousness utilizing these vehicles, right? So you're consciousness, and it kind of seems like the Russian doll thing. You're encased in like at least 3, you could say 7, but really, like practically speaking, like 3, not even like 2 bodies, including your physical. So you have a physical body, etheric body, astral body. I would call those bodies. You as soul with mind, it's just you as soul. It's not really a body. Excuse me, let me turn my phone over. So when you're leaving your body, you can transfer your consciousness to any of these more subtle bodies. I want to teach you how to do that to the etheric, the astral, or just soul travel, which really is just the better way to fly. And for the enlightenment process, it's just better to focus on that highest level. But you want to understand these other levels as well. And this stuff is deep and complicated, so bear with me. All right, so if you have the attention largely at the hara, right, we're focusing down, shoulders, down to hara. When you leave your body, you are pretty much going to end up in the etheric level because you'll be transferring your consciousness level 2. We have the energy grids, we have the etheric body, the meridians and the chakras. We put our attention into that, and then we could utilize that body out of the body. If you leave your body from second chakra level awareness, you'll be in the etheric body. If you leave your body from the heart level on a hot level, all right, so here, astral body at the heart on a hot chakra, the 4th chakra here at the heart, you're going to most likely leave in your astral body. And you can practice that, and we'll talk about it soon. The better thing is you leave from your third eye, and when you're doing out-of-body stuff, the attention is predominantly at your 6th chakra. Will then make you tired and ungrounded and have weird body sensations. And yeah, right? You are not just doing creative visualization or guided imagery. You are literally pulling your soul out of your body, right? You do that long enough, your body will die, right? It's a big deal. And it's, again, I think people think out-of-body travel is visualization. It's like, no, I'm telling you to get out of your body, and you're the one who keeps the body alive. You're the life force that animates and sustains the body. So you need to be 100% in it to have 100% health. Okay, but when you want to be getting out, attention largely goes to the third eye. And then if you can imagine the shoulders, we have a triangle that goes from here to here. So just hold that thought, right? I've been embedding that in your mind through all these months. You have an ascending upper triangle. But now imagine lying in your belly, on your back, belly up. And then that is the base of a tetrahedron that can go up. I'll do my best to explain that when we get to it. All right, and probably, I should create pictures for that to make it easier to teach. Okay, so let me know later if you have any questions about this idea, about which body you'll be in when you leave your body, depending on where you keep your consciousness most of the time. So first chakra, physical body, just you're in it and you're going to stay in it. All right, and most people are really down there. They're just working on food, shelter, clothing. They work 40 hours a week at a job. They take care of their kids. They mow the lawn, right? It's all human physical plane stuff. It's fine, but that's all that's going on. Those who start moving up the chakra system, ascending, if you will, if they leave their body, they will have higher level experiences. To go to the highest level, you focus on the highest. And really, 6th, 7th chakra is what it's all about. But you need to go through the heart in that ascent You need to get the energy moving up the Sushumna, this core central channel, and up Ida and Pingala Nadi. You need all those energy. We're going to talk about this tonight when we get to the vibrations. You need all of those chakras open and clear. So if you're trying to leave your body, we're going to talk about this because one of you said in the chat pod, not leaving your body because you still have a lot of anger, you wouldn't want to encounter something when you get out of your body. That's important, but you almost it's like a fail-safe. You almost can't get out of your body while the chakras are somewhat closed and blocked. They're never 100% closed, you would die. So when somebody says closed, we don't mean 100% closed, but blocked, filled with your stuff, right? Your negative emotions. You're not going to tap into the vibrations anyway. But once the Kundalini is awakened, the chakra system is open, which Anahat meditation will do safely over time. Eventually, that's all going to be open. The Kundalini will naturally want to rise up the spine, and it wants to just get to the crown. But it's got a journey. It goes through the heart. As the heart starts opening more and more, you open to love. And that's beautiful. You clear all your negative stuff and you open to love. But then, as you're going higher, 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 all that love goes up to God. So that's devotional love. And it might not look the same for everybody, of course, but it's the love of God that brings you to God. There's no other real way to go. You can concentrate on it, but that only goes so far. You'll concentrate on something you love, no problem at all. So what you're really working to do is not just get out of your body and fly. You're working to know yourself as soul, the child of God. You care about, you love your source, right? Like the child loves the parent, and you're working to have union with the parent, with God, with Father, Mother, God. That's the goal. Like that's all that really matters when it comes down to it. You won't necessarily leave your body forever when that happens, when you first encounter that. You'll come back again and you'll continue with your mission here and your spiritual growth, and it'll keep unfolding. That encounter, by the way, is not yet enlightenment, but it's a nice step along the way. All right, but the heart opens, eventually the third eye and crown chakra open, and you put all your attention here. When you get out of your body, you focus on the highest. Okay, so it's really important to understand that, or else you tend to fly on the lower planes and not realize that there's more going on. Can you explain the lower mind level? I don't quite understand that one. Yeah, that's important for tonight's topic. So remember, like, I don't know if everybody knows why I said, what's this distance between here and here? Now look at the chart on the screen. What's the distance between here and here? How many bodies, how many levels between here and here? There really aren't. There's just a gradient, right? So if you get picture, if you know what I mean by a gradient, like let's say, colors don't really matter here, but let's say white and black, right? Pure black, pure white. But along the way, you can imagine a gradient as it gets lighter coming down or lighter going up. It doesn't matter. Just that's a gradient, right? Now, your physical body is the most dense part of the gradient. Your soul, one with God, is the most subtle part of that gradient. Then there's like your soul. We'll do it this way. There's like your soul, then God, soul, mind, and there's light. All right, so God, soul, light is all there. And then your mind, then your astral body. Now, in the purest sense of that order of manifestation, your astral body is very beautiful and very pure. Your astral body is your emotional body. And when your thoughts are aligned with God, if you say, I am light, I am love, I am peace, I am joy, I am bliss, I am infinite, I am eternal, I am pure and free and forever, I am unchanging, I'm immortal, I'm one with my source, I'm forever eternally safe. Those are true thoughts. That wasn't just positive thinking. That was just the soul telling you who it is. All right, that's who I am, that's who you are. All right, that's self-knowledge. That's I am bliss. It's not a debatable topic anymore. All right, so those are just my mind saying thoughts that are true. That causes the astral body to be beautiful. And that's just going to manifest down into the physical, into physical balance and physical proportion and physical health. And your body is just a vehicle for you to do your life's work. And it's pure and it's open, it's clear. Now, what happens when the soul falls into illusion, right? The fall or the detour into fear, or just the choice to incarnate, if you will. We forget who we are, right? So when you descend into human, you're an amnesia victim. right? You're choosing to temporarily forget. You're eternally safe. Your divine home and your creations are still intact, but you choose to think you're something that you're not. When you do that, your mind, which is on the, you would just say, counting from the top down, level 1, 2, 3, that's the causal higher mind. But that is your truest sense of mind. Not necessarily just thinking in English, but that's how we have to talk right now, when I'm using English to teach. But realize, like, soul communicates on much different levels than just English. But anyway, if you could imagine the mind in the fallen soul, and I love that term, but right in the forgetful soul, that mind is going to say things like, I'm bad for betraying. Now, it doesn't always do this, but yeah, this will be a good example for you to understand lower mind. I'm bad because I've left God. I am alone. I am separate. I'm unlovable. I'm worthless. I have no reason to exist. I have no purpose. When the soul forgets who it is, it gets filled in its mind with false beliefs, not truth, because God is truth. It's filled with illusion, delusion, and error. Right? So the mind is filled with error. I am bad. I'm stupid. I'm worthless. I'm unlovable. I'm tainted. I'm impure. I'm sinful. All of that silliness manifests emotions. When you have wrong thoughts, it causes negative emotions. The astral body, remember, is the emotional body. When you have those kind of thoughts, I just said, all those false beliefs, it creates the negative emotions of hurt, sadness, fear, anger, guilt, shame, and everything else that would come out of that, anxiety, depression, etc. The lower mind, the lower body, to answer your question now, the lower mind, lower body is the denser astral body. We could call it the lower astral body or the lower mind. It's the human mind emotion that's going to manifest a traditional human incarnation, right? So most humanity, the unenlightened ones, which are the majority of them, beings who are here on earth by default, not by choice, right? Bodhisattvas are here by choice. And like choosing to come down here with a mission or purpose. They might not be perfected yet, but they kind of don't even have to be here. Those who are here by reincarnation, karmic default, and it's a long story, right, about transmigration, reincarnation, but those who are pretty much here doing the normal human thing are filled with illusion, delusion, and error. They're filled with false beliefs and negative emotions. All of that stuff in the order of manifestation manifests the denser astral body, which will manifest the denser etheric body. But it's important to understand that that level of the being, what I'm calling lower mind or lower body, is the result of, like, if you could, like one of you said, not only my body, because I feel a lot of anger, your lower mental astral body is your negative emotional body. I think, I don't use this term, I don't like this term, but I think it's Eckhart Tolle who used the term the pain body. I think, like when we talk about, remember gradient, it's not like just one body and another body, it's a gradient. And the lower mind or lower astral body and the etheric body are pretty much the same. There's not a huge difference, but just realize the average human being's lower astral body is filled with negative emotional stuff. If you could see that aura, you would see the blockages, the sanskars is what they're called in Sanskrit. The sanskars, the negative mental impressions, those are your karmic seeds. So a pure being doesn't have those. And their lower astral body, they don't really have a lower astral body. They have a pure astral body, manifesting a pure etheric body, manifesting a pretty darn pure physical body, as pure as the physical body can be. All right, feel free to let me know if that answered that question. But either way, I think we're going to move on. I'll give you just a moment to let me know if I answered that. This is really important. We're talking about, great, thank you. It's really important to tap into the vibrations before an out-of-body experience, because with all those energy blocks, all those samskaric blocks, which we'll talk about tonight, and we might not get as far as we can, as far as I want to, because we have to talk about how to remove those blocks, or you ain't going anywhere. All right, so be aware of this chart, and the more you study it and the more you read my book, The Sutras on Healing and Enlightenment, if you haven't read it yet, is really valuable. It goes through the chakras in detail, and it talks about why illness manifests and how to resolve that. Because the order manifestation teachings that we're looking at now are not only valuable for understanding the terrain of out-of-body travel, they're really helpful for understanding why and how psychosomatic illness manifests and how to heal it and resolve it. Like literally how to perform miracles when you understand the illusory nature of the astral, etheric, and physical body. Once you realize mind manifests the lower bodies and you know how to heal the mind, you know how to heal virtually anything. And cosmically, not cosmically, but globally speaking, you know, with this COVID-19 and all this stuff, we can heal the whole planet through miracle-mindedness if enough of us awaken, right? And I don't ever say his name right, Teilhard de Chardin, he said the human, this is while he was still alive, but he's recent times, he said the human species is getting to the point where they're going to have to choose between suicide or adoration. The human species is going to have to make a choice between suicide or adoration, meaning the love of God and the mystical experiences that unite us with God and awaken us to who we truly are as spiritual beings with incredible healing powers who can enlighten and heal the world, or we're all going to kill ourselves off. And this was somebody who wrote this, I don't know his exact dates, but like in the early 1900s, I believe, seeing the inevitable problems that are happening with humanity. So I do sincerely believe these type of teachings are a way to awaken us. And again, my book, The Sutras on Healing and Enlightenment, it'll explain this really well beyond what I can do here. And then, of course, the Sacred Geometry Meditation and the Anahat Meditation System all explain these levels as well. And the more you understand them, I believe, the better for out-of-body travel, for sure, especially because where you go or what body you use depends upon this understanding. If you're going to do it consciously and voluntarily. If it just happens spontaneously once, great, but you won't know what body are you in, what level are you in, and what's the point? Who are you and where are you supposed to go once you get out of your body? All right, so it's not just getting out and flying, which I know a lot of you might be excited about. It has to always be about the highest, so seek the highest. All right, there's a quote I used to use when I was younger. Only the self is an end in itself. Everything else is going to be a temporary journey. And when you have the out-of-body experience, it'll become a memory. It'll just be something happened in your past. Spirit, God is here now, always. You don't want to have an out-of-body experience that becomes a memory, because memories can only do so much to fulfill you. God is a living presence right here now. And you can find him or her without having to leave your body. In samadhi, we can know God all the time. You don't want to get out of your body really without, it's okay, but really without samadhi. And again, we have a lot to talk about to help you to understand the deeper samadhi teachings based on out of body. I was practicing, like I said, an hour before class. I was like, all right, why am I able to do all this stuff? And why can't most people? It's not it is lack of technique for most people, but it's lack of the ability to hold samadhi. And that's not something that's taught. So while I'm practicing out of body, I am doing the deeper samadhi teaching. So we'll have to cover that. Okay, moving on so we can get to all of that stuff. Here it says, to utilize the etheric body, focus above the navel and into the solar plexus. To utilize the astral body, focus in the heart. And to utilize the higher mental body, focus in the throat. But don't even worry about that. Like I said, I don't really acknowledge that as a major level now. But to utilize the causal or soul body, focus on the third eye and crown, which essentially, if you want to be getting out of body, focus on the third eye and crown, because then you are focusing on the highest. Only the self is an end in itself. Okay, stages of the out-of-body experience. And now we can hopefully get to techniques. Number one, deep relaxation, but better stated, body asleep, mind awake. So we'll talk about that tonight. And I'll point out where the meditation is for that. Well, it's on the audio on the Anahat Meditation website, onlinemonastery.com. You go to Anahat Meditation, that link, and then there's all the audio, which says circa 2005. And then you'll hear the out-of-body recordings, and there's a deep relaxation one. Essentially what we're doing there is we are using hypnosis to practice body completely relaxed, mind completely relaxed, but mind still awake. So when you're, excuse me, getting the body ready to leave the body, you basically have to put it to sleep. Now, let's talk about how to do it a little bit before we even move on to the other stages. So we're talking about stage one at an out-of-body experience and a lot of techniques or tips on how to do it. I have the recordings there that'll help to put you into deep hypnosis and to help you to relax and hold that feeling while you're still fully conscious. So you can practice that before bed. You can practice that 3 in the morning. And what you want to do is when you're falling asleep at night or when you're waking up in the morning, don't get out of bed right away. When you wake up in the morning, realize, kind of program yourself, make a choice. When I wake up, I don't open my eyes, I don't get up, I don't move my body. My first agenda is not to check my cell phone, right? My first agenda when I wake up is to stay half awake, half asleep. Practice staying with the body still asleep, but be awake. Like if you become conscious in a dream, lucid dreaming, you can say, I'm in a dream. Your body must be asleep at that time. And like we talked about before, we'll talk about soon enough how to project from a lucid dream. But it's not the best way to project. There's so much more advanced things to talk about for sure. Okay, so when you're waking up in the morning, stay as asleep as you can while still being aware that you're aware, and then be aware, wow, and you might be, on the side in a fetal position, whatever, sleeping on your side, but just be aware, okay, I'm in here. I'm in here, there's a me, right? Who is this you? Nobody asked that question. Who is this you? Who's the ghost in the machine, right? Who is the spirit who's having the human experience? Contemplate that, be aware of that, get intimate with that, and learn that there's a difference between the body and the soul. The body and soul are obviously intermingled. That is the teaching here, but we're working to unmix them. So in Course in Miracles, that's called level confusion. 2 levels, spirit, body, but you don't know who you are as spirit anymore. Now you just think you're a body. You're not, you're spirit. So a good time to become intimate with you as spirit while the body is still asleep is in the morning when the body is still asleep and you're awake. You got to practice that because usually you're just awake and then you start acting. Don't even get up to meditate right away. Like you're meditating, but the body is still lying down because you're meditating all the time. It's not like I meditate for 10 minutes on the cushion morning and evening. No, you meditate all the time. You meditate while you're sitting on the cushion. You meditate while you're walking. Meditate while you're always meditating. You're always mindful. Right? You're always engaging your spiritual practice because eventually it's a full-time job and it's a habit to do all the time. If you can make it a habit to really realize spiritual practice happens all the time, out-of-body travel will be a lot easier because while you lie down in bed at night, what are you going to do with your mind? What are you going to do with your energy? You can practice the mind out-of-body experience at every moment if you want to. Anytime you lie down for a little nap, you practice this stuff if you want to. But at least you're consciously knowing that you can do that instead of lying there worrying about the past and the future and the bills and the kids and just forget all that stuff. Just go to God. All that stuff takes care of itself. If you just focus on the highest, all the lower levels take care of themselves. This is the secret to the whole universe. Focused on the highest, the lower levels take care of themselves. Okay, but again, you gotta do what you gotta do in your life. Okay, so practice that and try to talk about it more, but essentially just practice that in the morning. Practice that during nap time, or I do hypnosis during the day. Usually once a day, I'll go into hypnosis as like a power nap. And if I'm doing it for power nap purposes, I'll just let myself, whatever happens, just kind of, fall asleep, go into what's called Yoga Nidra. We'll need to talk about more. Yoga Nidra, let's do it now. Yoga Nidra means yogic sleep. It's not samadhi. It's not even, it's kind of close. It's not close to samadhi. It's a very basic stage, but it's being taught more and more because it's just like mindfulness. Like mindfulness is a watered down version of deep meditation. Yoga Nidra is like a watered down version, but it means it's a real state. But it's like watered down of samadhi. It's just nobody really market samadhi because nobody's really ready for that. So few people are ready for that. But that's what we're really getting into is samadhi. Okay, so yoga nidra is when you're kind of half awake, half asleep. At the end of a yoga class, if you've ever done like an hour and a half of hatha yoga, all the body postures and stretching and breathing, and then the teacher has you lie down in corpse pose at the end, called Shivasana. My teacher in India called it immortal pose, not corpse pose, because Shiv is the immortal eternal consciousness. So he called it immortal pose. You put the body in immortal pose, you're lying your back, palms are up, hands are away from the sides, feet are apart, but you're just lying your back basically. And then when the body goes so relaxed, you're going to feel like you're still awake, but you're not really there. And then you'll come back and you'll be like, wow, where was I? That was so pleasant. I didn't want to come back. A lot of you know this experience. That's a good state to get to. It's very similar to body, sleep, mind, awake. You learn to hold that state for very long periods of time, like hours. And you just keep practicing when you're lying in bed. Anytime you're just laying down flat on your back and you want to do it, just practice profound physical and mental relaxation. But here's the thing that's missing from hypnosis that you only get in deep meditation. That's the sanyam power, concentrated power. When I was practicing earlier today and really, doing it for your sake about like, what do I do? I'm doing sanyam, and most people haven't developed sanyam. So remember, sanyam is the major teaching of level 1, lesson 1, Jiriki, or concentrated power. In the samadhi teachings, those are 3 words for sanyam, the combination of dharana, dhyan, and samadhi. I'm going to keep drilling that in. So I hope if I ask you guys someday as teachers, what is sanyam? It's dharana, dhyan, samadhi. And today or next time, it's my intention to teach those again in a deeper way. So the intense concentrated power needs to happen. So it's not only is my body totally relaxed, like beyond even relaxed, it's like asleep. And I did that. I went for a hike today. I worked out, then I went for a hike, so good me. And then I went up in my upper balcony, laid down on the recliner up there, the lounge chair, whatever, and just, around on top of a mountain, absolutely beautiful, surrounded by all the pine trees. And I was listening to hypnosis, and I just let my body go into sleep. But I was still fully conscious. That's what you need to practice. So body asleep, mind awake. So practice it when you wake up in the morning, practice it during hypnosis, or if you just take a nap. And then, or if you're practicing yoga nidra, you can learn about that. You can just Google that if you want. But like yoga nidra and corpse pose. Anytime that's happening, you can practice this. And then when you're falling asleep at night. So as the body's, and this is where you start not sleeping as well, because as the body's falling asleep and you're working to stay conscious, you're awake. And then when the sexual energy is still really strong and you're awake, you might not sleep at all at night when it's happening. A lot of yogis only sleep like 2 hours a night. You hear about those stories. I'm not one of those. My body, I need more sleep. But when you're not releasing sexual energy and you're barreling your body, you're probably not going to sleep as much. But that helps to overcompensate for the lack of energy that one of you are asking about. So the sexual energy teachings really relate to all that. Okay, so I practice body, sleep, mind awake while you are, while you're falling asleep, and use the recording on the website to practice staying there, because that recording is intentionally designed for that. But remember, it's not just relaxation. It's like literally, if you can measure the brain waves, the body would be in probably alpha to delta activity. I think you could probably even, I've never measured this, you could probably even get theta activity occurring. And another little tip, not necessarily for body asleep, mind awake, but just to help you, well, it kind of relates to the stage, binaural beats. So binaural beats, isochronic tones, you can hear it on YouTube. It's all free, and they have really long, I sleep with that stuff, by the way. I definitely sleep better when that's playing. So you're going to shut I have a nice big screen TV on my wall in my bedroom. I shut the screen so it's still dark, but the audio plays, and I'll just put on binaural beats for the whole night. You're better off using headphones for binaural beats, but I can't sleep with headphones, so I have those playing, and it definitely helps. So what brainwave do you want to be in? I would use alpha during the day. Alpha binaural beats during the day. for like your naps. If I do like a hypnosis nap, but I want to practice body, sleep, mind, awake, alpha activity. At night, going to sleep, theta or delta. Theta is dreamlike sleep, and you can definitely be conscious in theta. Delta is contentless sleep. The only way you're going to stay conscious at that level is through samadhi techniques or sanyam power. So sanyam power is what keeps you conscious. One of our current students, I don't think he's here now, emailed me, and the word for like, well, maybe we talked about last, I think it was we talked about last time. The word that was used is twilight, like this twilight stage. That's nice for yoga and nidra, but samadhi is more advanced than that. And again, I don't know what exactly twilight means, but that word might help you guys to understand. Yoga nidra or it's not the same thing, but Anand Samadhi. Anand Samadhi is the bliss of the oneness in meditation, like true bliss when you're meditating. In these stages, it feels so good. It's just so nice to check out. You kind of go away. And then when you come back, you're like, wow, that was great. I don't know where I was, but that was so pleasant. I started doing that in my junior year of college. I remember I would go to class in the morning, whatever days. But then I remember I would walk in my Birkenstocks as a religion and philosophy major. I would walk to University of Florida, go to my religion philosophy classes, walk back home. And while all my friends are doing whatever they do, I'd be like, I'm going in. Like I'm going in every afternoon, I'm going in. And part of why I could leave my body so often is because literally every afternoon, excuse me, I would lie down in bed, take a drink. I would lie down in bed and I would practice this kind of stuff. I wasn't very good at it yet, but I would practice. And within a year, I was having full-fledged, legitimate, very regular out-of-body travel experiences. Okay, so every afternoon I would lie down, put the body into the yoga nidra state, and then I would hold my attention pretty much on the third eye and the techniques. I didn't know a lot of this stuff then, but you would basically, this is what you would do. Take your little power nap, but stay conscious, and like I would just cover up in the blanket, forget about everything, let the body go into this yoga nidra body asleep state. But then I would keep my consciousness really conscious of the third eye region, and eventually we'll start talking about how to project up and out up there. Okay, so yeah, that's deep relaxation. The chat pod is open, I can see it. Any questions about that before I move on? Because I don't want to move on if you have questions. All right, I want you to understand that step, and even if it takes you a year, and if we talk for a year, whatever it takes to get you to be able to successfully do that. Okay, I don't see any typing, so we'll move on. Be sure to practice that. Okay, no, be sure to practice sanyam, the intense concentrated power, because that's the difference between hypnosis and meditation. Most of your, if you're hypnotherapists, your clients who go into hypnosis, they haven't cultivated sanyam power. As a meditator, you have. It's the sanyam that keeps us awake. So when you're going into Anand Samadhi, it's so easy if you're using a mantra to get there. It's so easy to let the mantra fade and just to blend into the bliss. But that's not the goal. There are higher stages of samadhi, and the only way to get through them is sanyam power. Okay, so it's the intense concentration that we're using to have the out-of-body experience. All right, and other things. It's it's pretty advanced, but you can do it. All right, number 2, the vibrations. It's not. If you thought number 1 is hard, this is much harder. So let's go to the image of the chakras to talk about those. All right, here's the overview. God beyond the beyond is source beyond light. It's not vibrating. Then God said, let there be light. Vibration, the Om, the Word. In the beginning was the Word was with God, the Word was God. That vibration of light, sound, and geometry manifests the whole universe. That is so much energy, though, your body couldn't possibly handle it. So to manifest a body, we have a step-down system, a gradient, and those are like energy transformers. So your chakras are like energy transformers. A transformer in the field of electronics is when you have a lot of energy, like a nuclear power plant. When they pump the energy out of there, it's going to go through, I don't know exactly, but it's going to go through big wires, but then that's too much to put into your house. So it'll go to a transformer that'll step the energy down and can go through a smaller wire. And then it'll go to another transformer, step it down just to get it from the nuclear power plant to your house. It has to have enough power to get to your house, and they keep stepping it down. That's really what the chakras analogous to that are, right? That we're stepping down energy enough to sustain a human body in a healthy, vibrant form. But when you get all blocked, that's when ill health develops. The energy comes down the descending triangle and just down. So just imagine it comes down and into your body. And if they were moving down, then, if we're focusing down, then the throat chakra has a descending triangle, and the third chakra would have a descending triangle. The reason we have, and we talked about this before, I believe, the triangle going up at the third chakra and down at the fifth chakra is to symbolize integration at the heart. It's like the deepest level, one of the deepest levels of Arhat meditation, the integration at the heart. But when we're ascending, those triangles are going up. When we're descending, the triangles are going down. So right now we're talking about energy coming down and into the human form. It comes down and in all the time. That's what's sustaining your body. It gets to the bottom of the chakra system, and then it needs to loop back up. It recirculates itself back up into God consciousness, right? Spirit says, Om. All right, it's a 3-syllable word. Om. A-U-M. Ah is the outpouring of energy. O is the sustaining energy. And is the return back into spirit. So energy goes down your chakra system, up your chakra system. That's what you'll feel with the vibrations. But Kundalini is said to be a stored up energy at the base of the spine because it's a lot of energy. Even though it's still stepped down, it's been like cultivating or pooling down there because it's like the energy gets to the base of the chakra system. It looks up, it sees the tube called your Sushumna and all those chakras. It's like, man, anger, hurt, fear, jealousy, greed, shame, guilt. And I was like, I'm just going to stay down here and wait. Because when you have an emotion, it pushes up on your stuff. So in the human aura, in the human energy field, we have blockages. The blockages in Sanskrit are called sanskars. They block the flow of Kundalini energy. They don't totally block it, right? Your chakras are enclosed or you'd be dead. But in your aura, in your chakras, in your energy body, you've got all these memories, belief systems, and emotions. When you have a memory with a bunch of, in the memory is a negative relationship, like you're mad at your dad, right? Your dad hurt you, you're mad at your dad, and he made you believe that you're helpless and powerless and stupid and worthless and unlovable and bad and dirty and shameful, right? And, those kind of memories. And then there's all the hurt and sadness and anger and guilt and fear. All of that is a sanskar. And everybody has their own unique flavors, and they have lots of sanskars. How many sanskars in the average human being? I mean, who could count? But you're talking like hundreds, depending on how you measure that. Every memory is technically a sanskar, but, even the greatest saints still have memories, but they don't have sanskars anymore. So sanskars are blocks in your energy. Again, there's memories. There's, you might say, your inner child lives in those things, but then you have past life sanskars. So I got past life personalities living in there. And I believe that from my own experience of clearing my own aura. There are like 14 past lives with lots of stuff and darkness and pain and anger and guilt and shame. So, that's the human aura. That's the human system. You cannot tap into the vibrations the way I'm talking about. You might get a glimpse of it, but you don't even want to tap into Kundalini level vibration because it's, you're not ready. It's like you go psychotic, you go crazy. Imagine the energy is trying to purify your stuff and your sense of ego. It's like the energy filters through all these sanskars, and what's left is this little trickle effect But what's left is really your personality, right? It's just like, and this is complicated, but your ego, your individual sense of self, who you think you are, is really the result of life force energy moving through sanskars. And this sanskar says, yeah, you're a bad person. This sanskar says, yeah, you're not a good mom. This one says, yeah, you're worthless. And then like what's left is this conscious mind that's like, why am I so neurotic? I hate myself. And then you get all this negative emotion in the heart. All right, just human experience, normal human being. You don't want Kundalini moving through that because it's like the Kundalini tries to purify all of it. So the normal human experience is more than enough for most people. All right, so now there's all these blockages. If you want a much more in-depth talk on this, you can go to any of my other websites where I have the online conscious community classes and listen to my Opening the Heart teachings. There's a $20 in 1995 meditation series on how to open the heart and how to clear emotional blocks. All my books talk about it. Peace Under All Circumstances talks about it. Sutras on Healing and Enlightenment definitely talks about it. There's a section in it in Sutras, on the Sacred Geometry Meditation. And I'm sure in the Anahata meditation system, there's teachings on that for sure. So all my books, maybe the Interpersonal Hypnotherapy book doesn't go into it directly, but all my other writings do. And it's in our hypnotherapy school training. So I'm not going to spend the hours I would like to on how to clear your emotional blocks. That's part of why I teach hypnotherapy and breath work, is to clear those blocks as a profession, right? A way to empower people to clear their blockages for themselves and others. And that's essentially what you need to be sure you're doing. All right, so you don't want, like we talked about and one of you acknowledged, you don't want to get out of your body while you're filled with blocks. And how do you know you have blocks? Most health conditions, I believe, are the result of your sanskars. So if you're dealing with major health issues, you might want to not just clean up on the body level, but clean up on, the mental emotional level. But then any mental emotional imbalance, it's okay to have emotions. I'm not saying you shouldn't have hurt, fear, sadness, anger. That's just what moves through the human system. It's part of human, but it's just an energy that passes. The problem, and this is what we need to talk about now, is that you, and remember the you is spirit, you are consciousness, you're the observing consciousness. You as spirit have willpower. Your willpower is very much what we're focusing with Sanyam power. Right? When you focus on your navel, that's your power of will. Right? When you focus on your heart, you're willing your attention to go in one spot. So what are you concentrating? Your consciousness, your power, your willpower, your Sanyam power. Human beings have no idea about that, but they have it in them. You know you have willpower. And when you don't like the emotion coming up into your awareness, like you're here, you're in there, whether you know it or not, you're there, and you have willpower whether you know it or not. When an emotion comes up, what most people do is they squelch it, they suppress it, they push it down, they block it. All right, so if I have anger come up, which I do, I had anger recently, no problem. I'm actually glad that I do because it's a human emotion. And if it comes up in me, that actually means, there's probably something really wrong with the situation, because it's okay to have emotions. If somebody hurts you and you get hurt, you feel hurt. There's nothing wrong with that. If somebody dies, or right now COVID, we have almost now 200,000 Americans who have died. Just listen to one of those stories. Of course you'll feel sad. I mean, that's normal. It's human. That's real to feel sad. The problem is nobody teaches you what to do with those emotions, but actually they do teach you what to do with them. They teach you don't feel them. Don't cry. Don't be angry. Don't be sad. Whenever you go to a friend and go, I'm scared. Oh, don't be scared. Right? I'm angry. Oh, don't be angry. Mommy, I'm crying. Don't cry. Boys don't cry or whatever. Suck it up. Or children should be seen and not heard. They did teach you what to do with your emotions. You suppress them and push them down. You are essentially, when you do that, you are fighting with Kundalini energy. You're fighting with God. God is going to win. The light is eternal. Your power of will, while it is eternal, you'll eventually lose, right? Eventually God's going to be like, look, I'm not backing off here. We have to clear your aura. We have to open the chakra system and let the Kundalini Shakti get back to its source. But when you're in there pushing it down by suppression, you are blocking your life force and your aura. So you must learn these teachings, which again, I'm not going to spend hours lecturing about. So get my Opening the Heart recordings, or find my lectures on Opening the Heart on tfioh.com or Easier Institute of Hypnotherapy.com. Under programs, I believe it is. I have all my past Monday night lectures, or classes, and there's many classes about opening the heart. So you must know these teachings to be able to open your aura, to tap into the vibrations, or to open your chakras. Okay, so number one, don't suppress emotion ever again. And here's just a brief teaching of that. Any substance you use to suppress an emotion is suppressing an emotion. If you feel bad and you smoke a cigarette, this isn't talking about the health effects or anything about cigarettes, just if you use a substance to suppress emotion, you are blocking the vibrations that precede an out-of-body experience. Alcohol, marijuana, sex, television, anything you, and I'm not saying these things are bad, right? But anything you do to suppress an emotion, like if you enjoy a glass of wine, fine, whatever. I'm not here to judge or talk about that. But if you feel bad and you turn to wine, you are trying to make this negative emotion clear. Now we need to talk about how to clear the sun scars on your own every day and in meditation. So how do you do that? Number one, don't suppress your feelings. Number two, what do you do with your energy? Most people, when they stop suppressing, they start expressing, they start acting out on their stuff. Matthew said, don't suppress my anger, so I'm going to let it out. Matthew said, I shouldn't, push my fear away. I feel my fear, so I'm going to do whatever it said to do. Like it said, I'm scared, so don't go do that public lecture. Okay, I'm not going to do it because I'm listening to my emotions. You don't want your junk, your blockages, your stuff running your life. All right, so if it's anger coming up, now again, if it's a very pure system and it's just an authentic emotion, you weren't triggered, it's not your stuff, it's just, all right, this is frustrating, this is not acceptable. Okay, that's kind of different. What's really happening for most people is you get triggered, your buttons get pushed, the sun scar gets stimulated, and all your anger comes up. It's like, he reminds me of dad and I'm pissed at him. You're not upset for the reason you think, you're upset at him, but you're upset at whatever, the real root cause, which is probably in that case, dad, or your parents or whoever hurt you or wronged you. When that memory gets triggered, the button got pushed, then you got a flare up of emotion. Don't act out on that emotion. Don't do what it wants to do. All right. If it's angry, don't yell and scream and hit. This is different than hypnotherapy training. All right. I found ways to clear these blockages through proper techniques. But on your own, which is every day, moment to moment, don't suppress your emotions. Don't act out on your emotions. So now, let's say fear of public speaking. You can suppress it and pretend it's not there and try to make it go away, but you'll be very anxious when you get out on that stage. Now, let's say you're like, all right, well, I'm not going to suppress it, so I'm going to feel it, but I'm going to do what it's saying to do. So you don't do the public lecture. And you're like, oh, well, that's good because my button didn't get pushed. I didn't have to go up there and be scared. But now you did what it wanted. If it says, come on, we know the cigarettes are going to make it feel good, have a cigarette. If you smoke, you are pushing, you're doing what it asked you to do, and all you're doing is reinforcing the blockage. Let's say you're angry, and the anger is like, oh, just yell at him, tell him, never do that again. If you ever do that again, I will. And then you vent that stuff. Honey, if you ever do that again, I will. Now what happens when honey does, when your spouse, whatever, does that again? Are you more mad or less mad? Right? Imagine you just told your kid, if you ever do that again, I will, and you screamed, and they did it again. You're more mad. What does that show you? Expressing your emotions does not get rid of your emotional blocks. So again, I'm not doing the super long lecture on this, so don't suppress your emotions, don't express your emotions. What do you do based on this model of clearing your blocks to open to the vibrations? Because this is the key. Technique to get to the vibrations, there's not much. The real technique is this. Stop suppressing, stop expressing. Now, what happens? So let's say you're angry, as an example, or scared, but let's use anger for now. The whole purpose, the whole idea really is do your best to get on the meditation cushion, but you can't always get on the cushion, so you just do this wherever you're at. But let's use the example of putting the body, in that image on the screen, put your body in that lotus position, or, just sit on a chair or whatever, but sit on a chair, sit on a couch, But sit up. It's usually better to sit than to lie down because we want Kundalini moving up and down the spine. Sit and keep breathing and relax your body. If you tense your body, you're going to block the flow of energy. So don't grin and bear it. Just relax your body. Always be relaxing your body. Constantly be softening your body. If you're tense, just relax your body. Keep breathing. Keep breathing because we're learning enough to know these energy grids move with the energy. It moves with our breath. So keep breathing and feel your feelings. Now, what happens if you just relax, breathe, and feel? Relax, breathe, and feel. And don't suppress. Like, take your power of will and pull back to be the observer. I told you eventually we talk more about witness consciousness. You're the observer of your chakra system. You're the observer of your body. You're the observer of your etheric body, which is like your sensations or your feelings. You're the observer of your astral body, which is your emotional body. And you're the observer of your mind. But if you don't meditate to practice observing, then you don't know that. You might know it intellectually, but you're not seated in the seat of your soul. So seated in the seat of your soul. To get there, I don't know how meditation will do it, but to focus on that specifically, my Peace Under All Circumstances teachings on the Anahat website, onlinemonastery.com, that covers that in depth. The only way to be at peace under all circumstances is to be the observer, because all circumstances include your body, your emotions, and your mind. You have to pull back to observe your mind, your emotions, and your body. And when you do this sitting in meditation, you pull back and take your power of will and just stay conscious. Relax your body, breathe, and feel. Now, what happens inside? The yogis, we talked about this term a little bit, call this tapasya, which often is translated as a purification through fire. Like literally, like tapas is like purification through fire or burning. But it's not like throwing into hell kind of thing. It's a purification process. You got dirty and Spirit is going to clean you up. How does that happen? You don't have to know how. All you have to do is let it do its thing. So while you're sitting there on the meditation cushion and you're angry, but you don't suppress the anger, you're just like, whoa, when you feel what's going on in your heart or in your belly, you're like, wow, that's a lot of emotion. But that's a lot of energy. And you're not stopping it, you're not suppressing it. But because you don't move your body, you don't create more karma. You're not acting out on your stuff. You're not letting your stuff run your life. When your stuff runs your life, that's karma. When you sit still, you're burning away your karma, literally. You're burning away a sanskar, and you'll feel it because you want to get off the cushion. You want to go scream at someone. You want to pick up the phone. You want to write that letter. Don't move. Just stay on the cushion. This is the hardest thing for beginning meditators to do. That's why you meditate morning, evening, no matter what. Not only when it's blissful, you meditate morning and evening no matter what. And if you feel bad during the day, go and meditate when you can. And just sit there and, you might have a confrontation with a person and you're like, I couldn't sit, we were having this big thing. And then, you drive home and now you're sitting in your house. You're like, mother, you're not going to curse. You're really mad. Good. Now it's your time to meditate. And your mind will be talking and talking. Remember, whatever your heart feels, your mind is going to talk about. Your heart feels bad. Your mind figures out what to do. Well, I'm just so mad. And then your mind's like, well, we could do this. We could do this. Don't do anything your mind says. Just pull back and watch it. Don't believe everything you think, and don't do what your mind is telling you to do. It's so hard because you think you are your mind. There's always a deeper level of observing. You can observe like I'd observe my hands. I could observe my whole body. I could observe the sensations of my body. I could observe my emotions, and I could observe my mind. That's the you who's going to leave your body, spirit. So remember, you have two energies, Shiv, the consciousness, Shakti, the energy we're talking about. Shiv, the conscious observer, or Shiva, observe if you want to use the but Shiv, the consciousness, observes the Shakti, or Purush observes Prakriti. When Prakriti, the Shakti, the life force energy, hits the sanskar, the blockage, it starts to burn it away as long as you let it do that. The moment you act on it, then you stop the burning process. And the moment you suppress it, you stop the burning process. And you make yourself more depressed and more anxious every time you do. Because the energy is trying to come up and out, You're pushing it back down and in, and that's where we get all these issues around the throat, and the head and the heart get disconnected. You end up living in your head, not higher consciousness, but your head with all those thoughts, trying to figure out how to make your heart feel better. Again, these are very advanced, long teachings, but the simple version is do your best to meditate as often as you can, especially when you feel bad, you get on the cushion, and that's your spiritual growth work, not just concentration, not just contemplation, not just out-of-body travel, not just sacred geometry, burning through your emotional blocks. If that's all you learned in spirituality, you would be you have way big leg up on most people. Learn how to burn through your blockages. Okay, so there's Shakti that wants to move up and down your spine. You don't feel that anywhere near like you could because of all the blockages. Hypnotherapy and breath work are an amazing way to clear blockages. When done, at the level we're talking about. And so if you're looking for somebody who can do that level of work, contact our school, Institute of Interpersonal Hypnotherapy, and we can find the right practitioner for you to get your blocks cleared quicker. Okay? But now, do it on your own. Number one, don't ever suppress your emotions again. Number two, don't act out on your emotions, ideally ever again. So what would you do before the public speaking thing? You can't just sit on the cushion, you need to go public speak. Exactly, that's life asking you to go give that lecture. Don't let your blockages run your life. You show up to the lecture. I remember my early days of public speaking, I was really scared. And my heart was pounding out of my chest, but I made myself do it anyway. And it helped to burn away those blockages. So what happens eventually? So let's say you burn away some of a blockage, or like a blockage of your 100 blockages, you clear one of those. Now, there's a new channel of light coming through, which will never close again. And then, a week later, somebody else pushes another button, you're like, oh, thank you, beautiful, another chance to clear a blockage. And you sit through it the way we're talking about. You just burn and feel your emotions. When it clears, this channel of love and light will pour through. It's like instant forgiveness. You're like, wow, I'd much rather feel this than all my negative emotions. So eventually the channel is open. So what is a totally open channel? Bliss, love, light. And anyone who tells you otherwise just hasn't done this process. Your natural state of your natural energy flow is pure joy, pure pleasure, pure bliss, pure love. It's like somebody asked me the other day, what is love? I'm like, love is the energy of reality. It's not an emotion. Love is the energy of all that is. The Shakti is love. Kundalini is love. But it's all blocked up inside. So you go and you do that lecture, you feel your feelings, you never let your emotions run your life. Eventually, the Shakti will burn away all of your sun scars. How long does that take? It's hard to say because people start in different places, but consider it to be a 10-year process. Right? Like, if you do hypnotherapy and breath work with somebody who's qualified, you can, and on a meditation, I would say in a year or two, the average person could get extremely clear. But until you're clear, you will not feel the vibrations that we're going to start to talk about. All right, someone said, what happens if you get interrupted physically while you're out of your body? So I think we talked about this last week. You will just return. It's similar to if you were asleep at night, which the body is asleep when you're out of your body. If somebody called your name or tapped you on the shoulder or whatever, you would just come right back in. But last week we talked about you want to come in slowly, consciously, mindfully. You don't want to snap back in really fast. So you could end up with snapback if you're not properly trained, and it's very uncomfortable, shocking, and could give you a heart attack, like literally. So, I mean, I don't know if that's ever happened, but I know what it feels like to have snapback, and that happened when I was younger. I would not want that to happen in my 60s, 70s, 80s, because that might be the final projection. So come back very slow and conscious. But last week we talked about using hypnotic programming to train yourself, like to program yourself, that you always return slowly, consciously, and voluntarily, no matter how abrupt. But yeah, you'll always come back. That's never an issue. Okay, great. So yeah, let's move on just because we got a lot to cover. Let's go back to the vibrations. All right, so what are the vibrations? Even if you think you feel them, because you felt vibration before, right? You felt tingling, you've done breathing exercises. You know what it's like to tingle in your body. So a lot of people are like, oh, I feel vibration. Fine, you probably do. Everything's vibration. But if you, you're welcome. But if you can't leave your body, then the vibrations just aren't strong enough. All right, so how do we get them strong enough, and what are they? You will feel them predominantly when you're lying down, because a lot of this work with, and again, please keep doing levels 1 and level 2. Don't only do level 3. Where we're just practicing out-of-body stuff, or like the advanced sexual energy teachings we'll get into, and the out-of-body. If that's all you're doing, oh my God, you'll never want to be a human being again, which is fine, but as long as you're at that stage of growth, because the advanced sexual energy stuff is crazy pleasurable, and the out-of-body stuff is glorious. So like, why would you want to leave your house? Thank God for quarantine. Right, so like, yeah, I'm loving quarantine now, because I've got like my inner being is so wonderful. I don't need to leave the house. Like everything you need to feel good is inside of you. But anyway, to get to like it feeling that delicious inside of you, you need to get the blocks cleared. So what do the vibrations feel like when you're clear? You're lying down. It will be body asleep, mind awake. One of the first things I feel when they come in is, there are no words, it's so hard to describe this. There's no words for it. It's like in my Sushumna, there's this core central channel, and usually there's like this, I can't describe it. It's a wave of energy, it's a wave of sound. It's very distinct. It's not just like a tingling in my body. It is a movement of powerful energy down the Sushumna, down the chakra system. It's very intense even talking about it. And then they'll come in waves of like, womp, womp, womp. One way you can see the energy coming in, and you might notice this, some of you may have already been experiencing this, you'll see it at the third eye. That chakra is like a bluish purple, the indigo. Indigo, but like a bluish purple. And when you start seeing what's called the blue pearl in your third eye, then you know you're making progress. When the blue pearl appears, this blue light in your forehead opens. It's kind of like a pearl, but it's just like a blue, you're seeing that chakra. It's essentially what you're trying to see. But then coming into that chakra is all of this light, and it comes in waves. And wah, wah, wah. Sorry for the sound effects, but I can't tell you what it sounds like internally without using my voice box. So it's coming down. But if you think about each wave of energy, it has its own vibration. It can just be like, but it's got to be, sorry, I'm not going to keep doing the clucky sound, the chicken-like sound effects. It has to be vibrating strong enough, and there have to be enough waves of it coming in fast enough. Okay, so again, you got to get yourself really clear emotionally. All the chakras are open, and Anahat will do this. You just keep doing the meditation system. It's slowly clearing all your meridians. Eventually, they're open enough. The energy will start moving down into your body. Now, it's intimately connected with your breath, and you'll know that from practicing Anahat meditation or pranayama, or even just yogic breathing practices, like breathing during a yoga practice. You learn how your energy and your breath are intimately connected. You start engaging pranayama, but you're engaging kumbhak pranayama. Kumbhak, if you remember, we've talked about a little bit, is holding the breath. So like right now, if you just hold your breath, and noted then, take it, now breathe. Notice that if you now try to do this, stop your thinking, stop thinking, no thinking. Now breathe. Notice how if you try to stop your mind, you stop your breathing. And if you slow down your breathing, you can stop your mind. So we sit in meditation, that's asana, right, the body posture. And then we do some level of pranayama. We're regulating, restricting the breath energy. And every breath of Anahat meditation is doing that. You're capturing the energy as we pull it to the hara. We pull it to the heart, you're capturing that energy. We pull it to the third eye. All right, so that's sanyam. That's the concentrated power. When the energy comes in, we take the sanyam and so this is very subtle, but that's what these teachings are. Remember, we have the breath within the breath. There is breath, like, right, oxygen and all that other stuff. But then there's the life force energy in the breath. What we're talking about is controlling the life force energy, not the physical breath. Because if you try to do too physical, you're going to re-engage the body and wake the body up. What you're doing when you're in body, sleep, mind, awake, and you're tapping into the vibrations, you are directing them into, doesn't have to be the whole body, but this relates to what chakra you're going to leave through. But let's just say we're doing like a full, etheric level projection. We're using the etheric body. We can bring those vibrations all the way down to the second chakra. All right, let me go back and show you on the screen. We could just look here. All right, so if you want to do an out-of-body experience using your etheric body, you would bring the vibrations all the way down to the second chakra. And again, I don't know, whenever I get teaching, I realize how much I have to share. I thought we were going to get closer to techniques tonight, but and we'll do our best. So when you're working to leave the body on the etheric level, you start transferring your consciousness into the etheric body, and you're doing it largely by having the vibrations down in the second chakra region, because you know how to hold your attention there, and you're pulling them down in, and that's really intense because it's filling your whole body. It's going all the way down through the whole chakra system, and it's going pretty fast. Sorry, I know it's not what's happening internally. It's the best I can do externally. And then it has to be vibrating fast enough. So what eventually happens is the vibrations become a solid state of vibration. You'll feel all the cells in the body feel like they get spacious. And it's a wonderful feeling, because the moment it happens, you'll know, I can get out. You're locked in right now. Right? Like if you're sitting in your body listening to me, you are locked in your body, and you can't get out. You try to move forward, your body moves with you. When the body is asleep in bed, that's step one, body asleep, mind awake. You have to constantly be there. Step two, you have to tap into the vibrations, and we'll keep talking about how to do it. We have to get to the techniques to be able to do it. So, but you have to know what to do, when they're there. So that's this part of the teaching. You get the vibrations coming in, and you use your breath, pranayama, the power of the will is controlling the breath energy and making it vibrate really fast. When that happens, I don't know what's happening. You probably say like the atoms, or if you're talking about atoms on the astral kind of level, you might be talking the lifetrons. It doesn't matter what we call them, but you will feel, to me, if I would just describe it as like the cells, and it's not what happens, but it's like the cells in your body spread apart, and then you as spirit can float out. It's obviously not your cells spreading apart, but it's, what is it? I mean, I think the term, the anu, the subtle subatomic particle, or anu paranu, like the subatomic particles that even make up your astral body, like somehow you'll just feel the energy body goes, and then you can float out. But it feels largely in the physical body as well. It's not only, there's like this murky intermediate place between physical and all this energy, but once that energy is strong enough and vibrates fast enough and spacious enough, then you can get out. So without the vibrations, you are locked into your body. Once they're strong enough, then you can float out. And the techniques we're going to get into will teach you how to do that. All right, so that's one thing. So like, how do we get those? I would recommend, if you're really serious, let's go down to that. All right, so here it is in the training manual. It just describes them. You simply have to practice, but here are some tips that should help. Number one, go into a deeply relaxed body, relaxed state, and want to feel the vibrations. That's what I was about to say. I'm just seeing what I wrote way back when. You want to feel them, and you can ask to feel them. A lot of this out-of-body stuff, it's not going to be, no matter how hard you work, your techniques won't do it. It's going to be the help of non-seen beings, non-physical beings, not even non-seen, because you can see them eventually, but and not always. But let's just call them non-physical beings, whether you see them or not, that will help you to get out of your body. So want to do it, ask to do it, pray, whatever you do to talk to spirit guides. There's lots of helpers, but ask and want to do it. And then I don't always know how to do it myself. I'll just be lying in bed, body's asleep, and I'm like, oh, there's the vibrations, and it feels good. It's a really nice feeling when they come on. It's not always by choice. So you just have to keep working towards it, wanting it, asking for it, opening for it, and you have to get pure enough for that to occur. And even when you're very pure, it's not like it's happening all the time. But without those, you're not leaving your body in this way. So want to. Intention is the first step. It says, number 2, bring your consciousness way in and up into the crown chakra. It's kind of like you extend your arm as high as your arm can go. So you can't see it, but like if I put my arm way up overhead, where my hand would be, internally is how high up you want to focus your attention, and then imagine pulling them down and in using your breath and your imagination. The vibrations are not imagination, but to help to get them there and even to leave your body, we use imagination as techniques to make it happen. Just like if you want to build a building, you would imagine it first, right? Everything starts with intention and imagination. So leave your body, you intend to do it, and you visualize doing it. So visualize waves of light pouring into your system. But it's not just visual. For me, I hear the vibrations internally, not with my physical ears, but the vibrations are so strong, they will vibrate your physical eardrum. I think some of you felt that already, just doing descending meditation on a hot. As the energy comes in, you'll feel it vibrate the very subtle bones in your ears, your stirrup, or whatever. The vibrations are, yeah, so there's a physical component, and you might, I noticed it more on my left ear. But anyway, you'll feel it, you'll hear it internally, and you'll work to control it to make it vibrate fast enough. We don't really control Kundalini energy or Kundalini Shakti, but the word pranayam, that word yam, so prana is Shakti, is life force energy, yam is to regulate or control. The word is often translated as control. You're doing pranayam with the vibrations, but not fancy overt pranayam, like, alternate nostril breathing. That's way too physical. This is a very subtle pranayam. So if you're going to research it, it's Kumbhak pranayam or Kumbhaka. Look for that extra ah in Western pronunciation. Kumbhak pranayam is an internal regulation of the energy. And usually it's about holding your breath. Like if we inhale to the third eye and hold, to hold your attention there, you would stop breathing. When the vibrations are that strong, and especially when you're regulating the sexual energy, you barely need to breathe. There's so much life force in your system that, it's like with samadhi, you barely need to breathe. And air has to move in and out of your nostrils. You don't plug your nostrils because Shakti has to flow. But yeah, internally, barely breathing, holding that energy, making it really intense, and then you can slip out. Okay, so, but all that energy, you can imagine finding it way above and pulling it down in. So visualize pulling it in. And then number 3, once they're there, you will notice they're intimately connected with your breath. You're holding the breath gently and guiding the vibrations with your intention. You work to make them stronger and more powerful. I honestly can't tell you exactly how to switch them on because you have to clear your emotional blocks. I believe that what I feel is the vibrations is fully awakened Kundalini. I'm not claiming anything. I'm just saying, like, to all my research and all my knowledge, students and myself, you have to have an awakened Kundalini, and it has to purify enough your blockages for you to feel what I'm talking about of the vibrations. So what is awakened Kundalini? It is a very intense evolutionary process that begins when you're ready, when enough blockages have been cleared, and you'll just find rapid clearing of emotional blocks, rapid change in who you are. You'll start mostly it's a lot of discomfort on the body and emotional level as that energy is purifying your blocks. Once it purifies enough and makes it to the third eye, then you'll really know. So that's when you'll see the blue pearl. That's when your third eye will open, and you'll have visions and prophetic visions and all sorts of this cool stuff in there. It doesn't have to mean anything, but at least, your inner vision is opening because the energy is making it up there. And then a lot of spiritual and mystical experiences will start occurring as the Kundalini makes it up. Once it makes to the crown, then that's a major step in the enlightenment process, but then the channel is fully open. And when you feel it rushing down into your body, you know exactly what it is. And it's unlike anything you've ever experienced before. It's just like unlike any other experience that I've ever had. These kind of vibrations in that way feel like you're plugged into an electric light socket. If you can imagine what that'd be like literally, like don't ever do it, but like put your hand on the socket, whatever, like that level of intensity would be with your body, that's what it feels like. It's like, again, if you think you've had something like this, you probably haven't. But even if you think you have a little bit, until it's strong enough, you won't be able to get out of your body in this way. Again, we have other ways to do it. But the reason I'm saying the vibrational projection is so important is for the teachings I just gave. If you think you can be spiritually enlightened, but still be filled with anger, hurt, sadness, hatred, greed, lust, like all those negative words, you're not enlightened when you're still filled with all that stuff. So by teaching you and encouraging the vibrational projections is to encourage you to get all your chakras clear. Because on a hot meditation, breathing up and down the chakra system the way we do, it's meaningless if that system is blocked, right? And then the out-of-body experiences happen naturally through a aura, through a chakra system, through your being, your energy being, that is opening and getting clear and pure. Okay, any questions about the vibrations? And then when I teach you the techniques that we'll try to touch upon tonight, yeah, I think we're almost ready to go there. Then I'll work to allude to how to find the vibrations with the techniques. Okay, let's just cover these stages and then we're ready for techniques. Remember, every time you practice, you'll make a little bit of progress. Practice body, sleep, mind, awake, even if it takes you 5 years. You just keep doing that until you're like, yeah, I can hold that all the time. Then you work to get the vibrations going. But you'll be using a lot of techniques we'll talk about now, and some aren't written in the training manual. You'll be using these techniques before the vibrations even kick in. And then eventually, when the vibrations kick in, or the moment you know you can leave the body, you'll get out a little, then you get sucked back in most likely. You make it to the ceiling and you'll be like, whoa, I'm so excited I did it. And then you get sucked back in because you got too excited. So you just keep going to the next step. So once you get the vibrations, then your next thing you have to have in your mind is, how are you going to separate from your body? It's a good idea to choose one of these techniques, and I'll tell you which one I like best, before the vibrations even kick in. Just be ready to do a separation technique. And if that doesn't work, be ready for like plan B, right? What's a secondary technique? All right, so let's talk about them and start to visualize what it would look like. Visualizing this is really helpful to make it happen. And we'll talk about other techniques tonight, I hope, or tips for increasing the probability of projection. So imagine lying down in bed, the body's asleep, and you're lying on your back, and there's all this energy, vibrations are there, and you as spirit are ready to float up and out. Now, if you just float up and out towards the ceiling, because you're trying to get out, there'll be a tendency to move the physical body. So I don't like the direct floating up and out as a technique. If it ever just happens, you're like, whoa, I'm moving up to the ceiling, just go, let it happen. And again, you might make a mistake. It's all about your mind. You're starting to move out and you have one wrong thought, like, I hope I don't go back to my body. The moment you think that, you're back in your body. But you're like, yeah, but I did it. I moved out 3 feet and I got back in. And I'm telling you, it's very real when that's happening. And eventually you can just consciously, voluntarily, body asleep, mind awake, vibrations, and then just float out. But again, don't just float right out unless it happens. Okay, but you'll see the term here on the screen, breaking coincidence. It's when you, with your more subtle bodies, whichever body you're leaving in, it's when you leave the physical behind. But even just getting a little bit out is breaking coincidence. And hopefully we'll get to the techniques, if not, whatever we get to tonight and next time, for sure, what it's like to loosen you up from your physical body. It doesn't necessarily feel great. It's like it feels good on some level, but for the human body, it's not so good. Remember, you are the life force that keeps the body alive and healthy. You leave your body long enough, it's gonna die. So We can leave temporarily and come back in, but again, Anahat meditation is about coming fully back in. So do level 1 to get back in the meridians of the arms and back in the meridian to the legs and down into your heart and down into your heart. You don't want to be out all the time. All right, anyway, but breaking coincidence is what we're doing. And if you're going to be doing that, you need to know how to kind of lock yourself back in. Again, level 1 of Anahat meditation is the answer to that. And specifically, meditation 1, descending, when you really need to get grounded. Rotating. Rotating is I think my favorite preferred technique. It's the one I would definitely choose to do. Like next time I feel the vibrations, I'm gonna rotate. So your consciousness, we talked about this a little, is focused right now on your eyes and you're looking forward. But you don't have to do that. You can focus on your ears and kind of think about out to the side. You can also focus through the back of your head. When the vibrations are strong enough, you can look through the back of your head. But the best thing I found to do is rotate, and you'll be looking through the back of your head. If your body's lying down in bed, you are literally looking through the back of your skull, and the bed will be like you can imagine, just turn around and you're facing down at the bed. Then you could float up to the ceiling while looking down. I've done that many times, but at least you're so out of coincidence with the physical when you rotate 180 degrees to again look through the back of your head. When you float up and out, you'll be looking down at the bed. Now, depending on if you leave on the physical level or the astral level, the physical or the etheric level, you might not see your physical body in the bed. When I first saw that, I think I told you about that. That's shocking. But I prepared you for that, so hopefully that won't cause you to come back in. Just be like, oh yeah, Matthew said the body might not be in the bed, and then move on. You don't have to understand why. But if you leave on the physical level, you will see the body in the bed. It'll look like a corpse. It's creepy. It's really creepy. Like Wile E. Coyote with like the X's in the eyes. You know, we see like a cartoon figure, like they're dead and they put the X's in their eyes. That's what my body looks like to me when I'm out of it. It's just a corpse. It's an empty shell. But if it's not in the bed, that means you're looking at the etheric level. Don't worry, just move on. Okay, so we're floating out. I'm sorry, rotating. So rotation, I prefer to rotate to the side. You literally roll to the left. Now, why to the left? Largely because the bed that I had when I was doing a lot of this, the wall was to the right. So I'm not sure. And it doesn't matter, you can float through the wall, but psychologically, it's easier to float out into empty space. So I just train myself to rotate left. I don't see any reason why you can't rotate right, but I can just tell you, when I start rotating, I'm going counterclockwise, and I roll out to my left. If I were to do it right now, that's the direction I would go. You can try the other way, but kind of feel what feels right for you right now, and then make that choice. You don't want to be indecisive when you get out of your body, or when you're in your body, by the way. Indecisiveness is never really a great thing. So, know who you are and make clear choices based on who you are. But yeah, be decisive when you get out of your body, or when you feel the vibrations, practice rolling to the left. And you can visualize and practice that anytime. This says your astral eyes are closed and you're not seeing yet. Oh, wait, what is it? There are times when you do leave your body this way and you will not see the body there in the bed, and this could happen for several reasons. Okay, gotcha. Got what I was saying. You do have astral eyes, whatever. Yeah, you have astral vision, but what I've realized is you have astral eyelids, because as above, so below. For whatever reason, you can close your astral vision. If you don't want to see ghosts in the room, you close your astral vision. You can do that. So if you can't see when you get out of your body, tell yourself astral eyes open. But don't say physical eyes open. Don't think eyes open, because you're so conditioned opening your physical eyes, you'll snap right back into your body. Astral eyes open. Our astral projection hypnotic programming prepares you for that. We talked about that last time. But if your astral eyes are closed, you might not see anything, including your body in the bed or not. Okay, so that just explains the body in the bed. Next, you can sit up if you're using your astral body. If you're doing soul travel, there's no body that can sit up. You just float out or roll out to the side. But if you're leaving your body in like your etheric astral body, meaning there's some sense of form to your subtle body, Then you can sit up. And that's really cool. It's really fun. Like just imagine, there's a body lying in bed at night. It has astral feet, doesn't have to, but you have astral legs, but you sit up with your astral body or astral etheric body. Again, there's subtleties here, but you sit up with your subtle body, and that will be out of the physical body. And instead of the body being flat, you're like this, and your legs are still in the body. I don't like that, because even though it's a cool experience, because you're still too close to the body when you get out of it. You just want to roll out to the side and run away, fly away, run, like fly away, get away as quickly as you can. So I don't like sitting up, but you can do that for sure. Rotating from toes, head to toes. We can practice this when we get into the meditations. It's almost nauseating to move your astral feet to the left. This is the way I usually do it. My astral feet move left and my head moves to the right. But not my physical body, of course. The astral, the subtle body, the astral etheric body, that moves right. The feet move left. You can visualize doing that, and you'll feel it to some degree, and it doesn't feel very good. So I don't do that because it's just a weird way to break coincidence that shifts the subtle body out of coincidence with the physical in a way that does feel nauseating. And if you get motion sickness, if you know what that feels like a roller coaster, that kind of thing, I'm a paraglider. So when the air is really rough and it's throwing you around all over the place, we call it bump tolerance. How much of that can you tolerate? There's no worse feeling than nausea. I'd rather feel physical pain than nausea. So I don't like this rotating, but you can do it. And it is a way to feel what it's like for a beginner to break coincidence a little bit. It's not very pleasant. Rolling out, that's what we've been talking about. Not just rotating, but rolling to the side. So I explained that works best. Rotating out, again, my preferred choice. Flipping out. You can, if you're stuck, the vibrations are there, but you can't quite get out. Usually it's because the vibrations aren't strong enough, is why you can't get out. But if you know they're as strong as they could be, but you can't get out, you can flip with momentum your astral feet over your head, and you'll flip out of your body. But if there's a wall behind you, you'll flip outside of the house or building that you're in. But that's fine. You just get out and then choose your target, think of your target destination. So flipping out is good if you need to. So rolling out is preferred. If that's not quite working when I want to, honestly, the vibrations are just not strong enough. If that's not working, but you could always choose one of the other methods that you want to practice with, and eventually you want to experience all of them, so keep practicing. And then you can go directly to your target destination. That's fine, because the vibrations are there, and you just think, whatever you think, going to my friend's house, or you think that person's name, or I'm going to God, and you just think the name you use for God, or to say God. And that's fine, yet if we're just not going to the highest, then to think of your target destination is fine, but then you don't really get to experience that intermediary stage of vibration and separation. You'll just feel vibration and instantly being somewhere else. That's fine, but I like the separation phase because it convinces me that this is real, right? If I'm just somewhere else and I come back to my body, I'm like, well, maybe that was a dream. But when you do this through all these stages very intentionally, you're not dreaming. You made the vibrations happen. You rolled out to the side. You flew around. You came back. So that's the reason I don't just go directly to the target destination, is I like going through these stages. All right, let's talk a little bit about travel. Ask questions if you got them, and then we'll work to get to techniques. So traveling. Well, there's a lot to be said about flying around, of course, but here's some pointers that I wrote about. If you're falling, remember to visualize a parachute. We talked about that briefly. Remember, everything, your mind controls everything, but also remember, divine mind is also in control. Like God is in charge, relax, God's in charge, that kind of thing. That's very true all the time, everywhere, but it's very true out of your body. So realize your free will, you have free will, but where you go at any given moment, you might say you're not as free as you think. So if you can't go somewhere, you may need to just surrender to the current, because spirit is leading you somewhere else at that moment. And whatever you can conceive of, God can conceive of higher than that, right? The infinite knowledge knows better than you do. So you might want to surrender to that. But your mind seriously influences your experience. So if you were flying and you ever felt like you were starting to fall down to the ground, you can visualize a parachute. It'll be right there, and you'll lower down smoothly. I used to show a video of The Many Adventures of Winnie the Pooh, where actually, if you watch that, there's a time when he has an out-of-body experience, and you'll see he's in his night clothing. Winnie the Pooh has like this night robe in the cartoon. But then when he has the out-of-body experience, he leaves his body and he's wearing his little red shirt, which is like his mental blueprint of himself. It's like his etheric body, how he sees himself. But then while he's flying around with heffalumps and woozles, then there's a moment where it's like he's come back to his body pretty fast, and he catches an umbrella and floats back down to his body. I used to play that in my astral projection workshops. So yeah, you can visualize carrying an umbrella like Winnie the Pooh, or just visualize a parachute like I've done, because you can feel like you're falling. I don't know what happens if you crash, but why bother to find out? If you feel you need to ask for help, your guides are there. If a guide is leading you and you feel safe, simply surrender and enjoy. I've learned so much more from surrendering than from making my own agenda. If you feel unsafe, simply think of your body or try to move it. This will instantly bring you back to it. Come back slowly to avoid snapback. Let go of all expectations, because God is in charge. Somebody said, can you just use your wings? Sure. Instead of thinking of a parachute. Yeah, of course. You can use your arms to flap, to float up or down. It's all your mind, but sometimes just the thought, fly, isn't good enough. So you put your arms out in front of you and you visualize moving forward, and you do. In hypnotherapy lingo, we have a term called trance logic. And the idea is that A causes B, even though A doesn't usually cause B. So I can say, like with hypnosis, when I snap my fingers, you'll instantly relax. Snapping fingers causes relaxation. A causes B, even though A doesn't usually cause B. But in hypnosis, we call it trance logic. I would do this, it will cause this. It's very valuable in healing. All right, so if you're working to lower blood pressure in hypnosis, you don't just say lower blood pressure, lower blood pressure. Those words don't really do much. But if you visualize turning down a dial and you see 160 becomes 140, becomes 120 or 80, right? If you visualize the dial turning it down, A, turning down the dial and visualizing the numbers lowering causes B, the physiological response. Same thing applies when you're out of your body. If you visualize the arms flying in front of you, or the arms flapping, or the parachute, or your wings. I didn't have wings when I had my first parachute experience. And you don't always see wings, but you are flying around. By the way, you're not necessarily going to see wings. I don't think I've ever actually seen my wings. I visualize them a lot of the time, but I've never flown around with big old wings. You just don't have, when I do soul. So the question, could you use wings? When you're doing soul travel, you don't have a body. And actually, I don't think I've ever fallen, honestly, during soul travel, now that I think about it. So if you have an etheric body or an astral body, yes, you can visualize wings, arms, parachutes, umbrellas. But with soul travel, yeah, I've never experienced a sense of falling. But if you do, yeah, you have all those options. But remember, it's all in your mind, but you're using your mind in a way to help to invoke a certain experience. Yeah, gotcha. Okay, great, perfect. These are good. What other points do we have here? Let go of expectations and human rules of etiquette. God's laws are not man's laws. In A Course in Miracles, it teaches you're under no laws but God's laws. You're under no laws but God's laws of love. And you are an eternally free being. Okay, there's something there about sexual energy, but you can read that on your own, just for the sake of time. It says, be nice, a courteous traveler, because you will be visiting places that you do not belong to. Humility and kindness go a long way on earth as it is in heaven. Okay, so yeah, be nice. Just have fun and enjoy. Don't take anything too seriously. You are a soul playing throughout eternity. Just dance and be free. Nice, thank you, Past Matthew, who wrote that. Here's some talk about Ascended Masters. So, we could talk forever about what it's like to fly around all these dimensions, but you don't really need any training in that, except for how to go to the higher dimensions. Again, my experience to get to the higher levels, two things. Want to go there, put all your attention on the highest you can conceive of, and go up. I think going up is like translogic. Because I go up wanting to know God or wanting to get to the astral plane, I go there. But you could probably get there in 100 other ways. But that's my advice of how to get to other dimensions. Want to go there, do your best to focus on where you're going, and then fly towards it with the intention that flying towards it gets you there. Remember my idea, which would have been a book title, Flying Towards God as God. So God's everywhere, but how do you bump into God at the deepest level possible? You just want to, and you fly towards it. And eventually you realize, oh, that's everywhere. But not intellectually. You have the experience of infinite universal consciousness, but you do have to intend to go there and want to go there. And then, yeah, utilize any kind of mental game to get you there, which could include mantra or whatever you do. To just say, God, 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 whatever name you use. But again, focus on the highest. If not, you're just delaying the inevitable. All right, and the return. Remember, we just always return slowly, consciously, like a hand slipping back into a glove. And then it's a good idea to start integrating again with level 1 of Anahat. Okay, we're going to cover 3 hours, then we'll wrap it up at that point. So let's see what we can get to. Time travel. We talked about it briefly. I don't have a whole lot to say, but realize it's kind of another type of projection. It involves the vibrations. I've never done it without the vibrational state. You get the vibrations going really strong, and you practice rotating, but then you can practice spinning. Because I remember one day, I'm like, I wonder how fast I can rotate. And then it's like you're literally like the contents of a blender. You can go really, really fast. It's really fun. But then I told you this story, so I won't elaborate on it. When I rotated out to the side, I got out of the body, but really fast, like spinning, 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 and then get out to the side. Somehow that very fast rotation, counterclockwise, brought me into the past. And then eventually I started doing it again and again, staying out longer and confirming that what I was seeing, because you can prove, if you saw the past or not, I was able to prove that I got out of my body and saw what was there however many years ago. So again, we won't go into all those stories, but that's how to do that from my experience. And again, it's probably more of the power of intention and this translogic idea. Rapid spinning to the left, rapid spinning counterclockwise causes time travel. I don't know if it does, but because of translogic, it does. A causes B, even though A might not really cause B. So for me, the technique is rapid counterclockwise spinning when the vibrations are there. Once I get out, I'm in the past. Why would you want to do it? I don't know, just because, you're lying in bed, you have nothing else to do. I was just, projecting every night, and I was pioneering a lot of this stuff for myself, and I guess others, obviously. Third eye projections. When the vibrations are really strong and the third eye is open, it's only when the vibrations are there. So again, third eye projections require the vibrational state as well. You as soul are very loose. You could float out of your body as if your body means something. It's like, wow, there's a body, I can get out of it. But the truth is, you don't have to go out of your body to fly out of your body into other dimensions. You can go through your third eye points and enter into other dimensions. It's not visualization. It's body asleep, mind awake. Vibrations are strong. You put the Sanyan power here. This portal opens and you'll literally see all sorts of stuff in there, whatever you see. And I don't know what you'll see at any given moment. Just like if you open your physical eyes, I can't tell you what you'd see in the physical plane, right? That depends on what you're looking at. Same with your third eye. When it opens, you'll see stuff. And then you can go into that stuff. And that stuff, there are actually other dimensions that occupy the same space. Okay, so that to me doesn't involve going out of the body. It involves going forward into an open third eye when the vibrations are there. So again, it's really advanced stuff. But that's how to do it. Maybe I read in one author having that experience. If not, I haven't read about that anywhere else. That's really from my own, just doing exactly what I just described. And then we have the projections from a dream. So I'll give you some pointers, and this is the place we're going to cover lucid dreaming very briefly. I don't like it because it's hard to convince yourself it's a real out-of-body experience, but I'll tell you how you can do it in a way that'll convince you that it's real. And then I don't like it because it doesn't encourage you to get to the vibrational state, which requires purification of your blockages, Kundalini awakening, and all the stuff we've been talking about, which is crucial for the enlightenment process. You can project from a dream, but it really isn't going to significantly contribute to the enlightenment process like everything else we've been talking about. Okay, but how to project from a dream. You would use hypnosis pretty much, program yourself, hopefully you know how to do it. So you put yourself in hypnosis on a recording, and the recording should program in essentially these few things. I become conscious in a dream. It's like, oh, you keep programming in. Tonight, I become conscious in my dreams. Tonight, I become conscious in my dreams. My body stays asleep. I become awake in my dreams. My body becomes asleep. I become awake in my dreams. I consciously control my dreams. I consciously control my dreams. Repeat all those suggestions like 5, 10 times, because it's not a whole lot that you need to repeat. Because I'm conscious, my body stays asleep, I'm awake in my dreams, I can control my dreams. But then that's just how to lucid dream. It's that simple, really. How do you leave your body from a lucid dream? You want to have a trigger phrase. And so you put in your hypnotic programming, leave now is the trigger phrase. So you become conscious in your dream, and then you program in, leave now. Whenever I think leave now, I automatically leave my body. Now, what happens is what happens for me when I do that. But again, me involves somebody who can do all this stuff. And that involves, I'm not tooting my own horn. I can only teach about what's happening inside of me, right? When I say leave now, I will come back to my body anyway. The body will be asleep because, right, I was in a dream and I know I'm dreaming, which means I know my body must be asleep. So when I think leave now, I actually don't fly. I come back to the body, which is asleep. I invoke the actually, you know what? Even the lucid dream projection for me involves how to astral project the way I've been saying. I actually don't know of any other way to astral project now that I review all these with you. I haven't taught this in a little while, so it's not news to me. But yeah, when you do lucid dream, the way I do it is I say leave now. I end up back in the body because that's my programming. I invoke the vibrations very easily because the body's asleep, like very asleep. And then leave now, I rotate out. So it's still a vibrational projection, but you're just cheating for body asleep, mind awake. By letting the body fall asleep, hypnosis programs you to have lucid dreams. In the lucid dream, you program in leave now. And then basically the programming for leave now could just be when I say leave now, I leave my body. But the way I leave my body is I become aware of the body asleep. I get the vibrations there, and then I do exactly what we're talking about. So again, it's just a little way to cheat to get the body asleep, mind awake. All right, any questions about any of that before we move on? And hopefully we're getting to techniques. All right, we got a good half hour. Let's cover as much as we can. I don't know if we do a meditation right now, but I want to prepare you to do all the meditations and hopefully teach you a little bit more about the Anahat style of out-of-body travel, which is not in any recording or any book right now, honestly. I don't think I've ever written it down or made a recording about it. Okay, so let's just see what's here in the bullet points. Be sure to have read this whole workbook thoroughly. So this is, how to use audio recordings. Begin listening to recording 1, daily programming. Again, this is all on onlinemonastery.com, Anahat meditation, and all those audio recordings. I've given you all those right now at no charge on the website. So do the daily programming every day. Have a target destination to go to. And remember that should be a person, not a place. And if you feel ready just to call out for God, then, again, whatever name you use for God, or just the word God, but have a target destination set before you go. You can write it down there, and if you want to, whatever, and read what's there. Then you can begin falling asleep at night to recording number 2, nighttime sleep programming. And if you're really serious, I would do all these. But yeah, daily programming once a day, nighttime programming. But don't stop on Anahat meditation levels 1 and 2. You're just adding this to your life if you feel ready to do it. So sleep programming at night. Subliminal programming whenever you want. It's just music playing in the background. It's my voice embedded in the music. And it's going to say things like, tonight you leave your body safely, you only encounter beings of light and love, you return slowly and consciously, all that good programming. will be in the subliminals. Subliminals are proven to be about 30% effective, which is good. If it increases your chance of leaving your body by 30%, it's good. You can play that music anytime, even as you fall asleep at night, if you want to. And it'll program your subconscious to help to have the experience. Then you have meditations 4 and 5. That's just simple meditation for number 4, descending. In this recording, number 4, descending, and then number 5, ascending. So you can use those if you don't know a lot about Anahat meditation. And that's, again, just given the people who bought this workbook set. Okay, practice with 1 or more of the out-of-body recordings, the exercises 6 to 10. Those are the ones I want to review with you tonight. And then, so we'll talk about those in a moment. When you feel ready, you can use recording 11 with the plan in section 10 of the workbook to project some time between 10 and 11. All right, recording 11. Let me see, one sec. Okay, good, there it is. Recording 11 is meditation 6 through 10. So that's just bringing all the techniques together, not with the Anahat information. And the way I would have done it at the time of the recordings. Now, if I already did them, I might refine it a little bit, but generally, all the same teachings. Okay, so yeah, meditation 11 is the one to primarily use when you want to integrate all the techniques, but you have meditation 6 to 10 so that you can, meditation 6 to 10 is you can practice each technique one at a time, which is what I want to talk to you about now. All right, we'll get to increasing the probability of projecting in just a moment. Let's go all the way back here. Camera looks a little blurry. Let me fix that real quick, one sec. Oh, no, all right, we'll leave that for now. Okay, don't worry about looking at me. Just here are the meditations. So guided technique for out-of-body travel. Meditation 6, deep relaxation. So there, just practice that anytime you want to. Just simply practice body asleep, mind awake. All right, it doesn't mean you're trying to leave your body. You're just practicing them first, most important step, body asleep, mind awake with meditation 6. And do that again on its own. Meditation 7, invoking the vibrations. Practice just that on its own. So you can imagine lying down and pulling the vibrations in. It's just constant mental rehearsal of each of the stages. So those are going to be self-explanatory when you're listening. The other ones will guide you as well, but I want to talk to you about 8, 9, and 10 so that you can understand the Anahat version of all of this. All right, so breaking coincidence meditation. And then there's extending and there's separation. I'm going to go back to full screen. I don't know why. I think so you can see my hands better is why I feel like doing that. All right, so we have breaking coincidence. Let me just look at this before I start teaching it without the training manual. All right, breaking coincidence. These are just words for stuff I really do intuitively. Okay, right, of course. All right, breaking coincidence, extending, and separation. Got it, okay. Let's do it with full screen and reset our camera here. All right, checking the chat pod, we're good. Okay, so breaking coincidence, extending, and then rotation. All right, so when we're doing this breaking coincidence, we need to get and this is working with when I say astral etheric, it really doesn't matter right now. So let's just say the subtle body. We're working to visualize the subtle body outside of the physical. And you can just do that. So again, I'm not lying down. I don't have graphics, but just imagine your body lying down. And then imagine a subtle body that looks like you, but it's not quite as dense, not physical dense. It's floating just a little bit outside. You're going to practice, instead of having your consciousness just really in your body, imagine it moving out into that more subtle body. So like, how does that happen? I know what I mean totally when I say I transfer my consciousness to the astral body. I literally move out of my physical into that. So that's what level 2 of Anahata is all about. We're visualizing grids, three-dimensional grids like the tetrahedron outside of the confines of the body. And by putting our attention there, we're gradually moving away from it, right? So if I were to turn to the left and look out the window, which is to my left, I could put my attention on the mountains out there, which is wonderful. But now I can forget all about those and put my attention on my body right here. Or I can put my attention on the camera that I'm staring at. I can put my attention on my left hand or my right hand. That's all it is. I'm just, instead of looking right here, I'm just gonna be like, forget that, I'm gonna look here. Instead of putting your attention, which is your consciousness, instead of keeping your consciousness in your physical body, you put it on this more subtle body. What we do to get into it in that meditation is we visualize the astral feet, as if you have or need astral feet, but you visualize astral feet coming like 2 inches out of the physical feet. And then you kind of move into that as if you're like 2 inches out of your feet. Then you move up to your head and you imagine going 2 inches out of your head as if your astral head pops just 2 inches out of your physical head. But don't just go up, go above. So while you're lying down supine, right, on your back, then, or prone. We had this discussion with somebody recently in class. Prone, supine. When you're lying down on your back, supine, and your chest is facing up, and you visualize the astral body comes out like 2 inches, but also 2 inches up and out. And then you're putting your attention on that. Then you go down to your feet and you extend 4 inches out of your feet. All right, so just a little bit more out, and then you move back up to your head like 4 inches out. But you do it in a swaying motion back and forth, and that starts to loosen the etheric body. I'll just call it etheric for now, just have one simple word. You're loosening the etheric from the physical. So you go 6 inches out, 6 inches out of the head, 8 inches, or what do we do, like 12 inches out of the feet, 12 inches out of the head, and then I think I do it all the way to like 24 inches out of the feet, out of the head. When I'm doing it on my own, I'm not thinking 6, 12, 24. I'm just doing it. But when I teach, I have to tell you, just to give you some sense. We're not measuring it. You don't have to email me and say, is it 18 inches or why do you say 24? It's just the idea of moving out, but up higher, right? Each time you go, and you're keeping your attention on that more subtle body. So that's going to keep you out of your body. Even if you're not flying around, you will be loosening the astral etheric bodies from the physical. So now, when is it going to be astral? When is it going to be etheric? If you're keeping your attention most of the time more in your second chakra, and you're visualizing more of the etheric, a more dense body, it'll be the etheric body. If you're focused more on the heart most of the time, and you focus on the astral body, a more subtle body than even the etheric, then it'll be your astral body. To do soul travel, this technique isn't really a soul travel technique because we're visualizing a body. But to do soul travel, you want to visualize the body, the vibrations would be there, and you as consciousness will just float right out. But that's a lot harder for beginners. So practice this technique, loosening an astral etheric body. Eventually you'll know the difference and you'll know how to transfer to the more subtle body. But once again, how to do it. If it's the etheric body, focus more second chakra and visualize a more dense body, but not physical. And it's going to look a lot like you. And then for the astral body, more at the heart, and you're just going to visualize more of a subtle, energetic being that doesn't have a whole lot of form. You're not going to see its face because that's not really relevant, but it would have kind of arms or wings if you like. Mostly, it's just a sense of a body. It's not, you don't need to look like anything, but you can still have somewhat of a body. I guess the astral body in its purest state would just be a beautiful orb of light. However, we allow it to take on form because we're so conditioned to being human. Okay. All right, so that's the breaking coincidence meditation. I just wanted to explain it briefly for when we go into the Anahat style of all this. Okay, so you can visualize the subtle body coming out of the physical, which is very helpful. You can transfer your consciousness into it, and you can sway up and down. I prefer the up and down on the vertical axis, right? Like out of the feet, out of the head, out of the feet, out of the head, instead of the rotation where my astral feet would move left and my astral head would move right. That's nauseating. And again, you can try it sometime on your own, or maybe I'll guide you that way. I like to guide people that way in classes so they can feel what it's like, but it's awkward. So it's like this swinging motion, out of the feet, out of the head, out of the feet, out of the head, moving up each time you go. Okay, and then just do that. Once you practice that enough, then just move to the next meditation. And that one, we're talking about practicing the extending meditation. So the way that works is you visualize the ceiling in front above you, because again, you're lying on your back. So all the stuff is done lying down. You're visualizing the ceiling. Let's say the ceiling is 10 feet above you, and then you're in the bed. It doesn't matter exactly, right? But it's like 10 feet and you're in the bed. You imagine in your astral body floating up about 5 feet, and imagine the ceiling moving down 5 feet. It's just a visualization that helps. Imagine the ceiling comes down and you move up to meet it. Then you move down and the ceiling goes back up. And you do that a lot, but like in the recording, it'll probably be like 5 times. But again, if you're just lying in bed for hours and you're doing this, then you're not doing it only 5 times. You're constantly playing with this. But I'll teach you the anahat thing I think we'll get to tonight, which to me is more pleasant based on all these ideas. Okay, so imagine the ceiling comes down, you move up to meet it, and you do that quite a few times. And again, about 5 times for the meditation practice. Ceiling goes down, you move up, right? Ceiling goes up, you move down. But each time you come down, don't go fully back into the body. Feel like you're floating above it a little bit each time. After about 5 times of doing that, imagine the ceiling comes down, you move up to meet it, but then imagine as if you're stuck to the ceiling. Like you're like, I can't get off the ceiling. And then as the ceiling keeps moving higher, feel like you're stuck with it. By the time it moves up to where its original state, then you are pretty much up there in your visualizations. Now, it doesn't mean you get out of your body. It doesn't mean you'll get out of your body when you practice the techniques. It's usually going to be later that night after you've fallen asleep and somehow you wake up in the middle of the night. The vibrations will be there, and then you're trained and prepared for what to do. The vibrations are there, and you just know how to transfer it to your astral body and to float up and out. That's what those 2 techniques did. So the moment you're ready, you've rehearsed and you know how to go. And those techniques loosen your astral body from your physical and teach you how to transfer your consciousness into them with the idea that you're moving up to the ceiling. Okay, so the recordings will guide you. But again, I just wanted to give you a sense of how they work to prepare you for what I'm going to teach in a moment. But not yet. There's one more technique first in the recordings. That is the rotation technique. You're lying down on your back, and imagine your body is like the center of a clock, so that when you're looking up at the ceiling, so again, you got to visualize lying down, the ceiling above you is the 12 o'clock position of a clock, and way below you on the floor, like maybe even down on the ground, whatever, however high your body is off the ground, behind you is 6 o'clock. Right, just to give us some sense of how to talk about this, some indicators or whatever. So above you is 12, behind you is 6, to your right is 3, and to your left is 9 o'clock. You're like the very center of that clock. You want to practice rotating. And to do it, you use the positions of the clock. So you turn your awareness to 1, and then back to 12. And then 11, and back to 12. And then like 1 and 2, and back to 12. But don't turn your head, obviously. It's not about moving your physical head. And don't move your eyes. That's the hardest one. Because I say I go to 1 o'clock, and you look, to the right. Try to focus on being the astral body. Imagine the astral body turning to the right. And then 11, then 10, and then all the way over to 9 o'clock. But 9 o'clock is, directed to your left, and you can kind of get that. When you move over to 8 o'clock, now you're breaking past the horizon. But then spin back, rotate around, and the recording will do this, just each notch. So you go like 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, back up front, and then 1, 2, 3, and then 4. Right, but again, it'd be like 1, 12, 11, 12, 1, 2, 1, 12, 11, 10, 11, 12, 1, 2, 3, and then 3 back to 12, and then over to 9, and then back to 12, and over to 3, and over to 4. And you're just going to keep practicing spinning using the clock imagery as a way to practice rotating. Eventually, you want to practice rotating all the way to 6 o'clock, so you're looking through the back of your head. It's not an exact technique in sort of you must do it exactly that way. You're developing 3 major habits with all these techniques. Maybe 3, maybe more, but floating up to the ceiling is a major idea that you're getting in your mind. Rotating is a major idea, and transferring breaking coincidence from the physical. That essentially is all you need in your practice, although I have a couple other techniques I can share, but those are my 3 favorite techniques to get out. Again, they're in the recordings will guide you. Now, let me talk to you how to do all that using the Hole on a Hot system. Again, I don't have this written anywhere, nor have I done a recording on it. So I listen carefully and hopefully repeat it in the future when I guide you through all this, assuming we get to that. All right, so remember I said the shoulders are 2 points. So imagine lying on your back and 2 points, your shoulders. Now, if you want to transfer your consciousness a little bit to level 2, then we're not on the shoulders, we're on the top of the descending triangle, or really the descending tetrahedron. But for the sake of this discussion, you can imagine the descending triangle, but slightly out of your body, right? The top of the descending triangle. So when I'm lying there, focused on that, my 2 shoulders, but a little out of my shoulders for the etheric level, those are 2 points. Now that could go to my third eye as a point, or to my heart as another point, or down to my hara as another point. All right, and that's going to form whatever point I choose will be a triangle. Again, I'm sorry I don't have graphics for this. All right, I'm just going to hope my words and my hand gestures give you the sense of what we're talking about. And you could ask questions for sure. All right, so I'm lying there. I'm doing a lot of this stuff, but I'm mostly doing it on a hot, excuse me, which means I'm very aware of the energy grids. I'm aware of, we've been practicing these energy grids for quite a while. So I hope you can visualize and feel the top of your descending triangle. Now, if I'm going to do more soul travel, I'll direct the attention from, with awareness still at the shoulders, forming a triangle with my third eye. Now, those are 3 points. The ceiling becomes the 4th point. Okay, so I got a tetrahedron connecting my shoulders to my third eye up to the ceiling. I hope I've overemphasized that enough. Now, I do the same thing if I move up that tetrahedron. I go up those lines of force to the ceiling. I can lower the point of the ceiling towards me, and I can move up to the ceiling. I can move the ceiling back up, and I go back. So all of that extending up and out towards the ceiling, you can do with these lines of force that you're making up in your mind based on all the geometries that we've been doing with on a high. You can extend past your shoulders. Imagine a much wider triangle that goes up to the ceiling, and you can move that up and out, and you kind of float up and out with it. And then if you want to project using the lower chakras, like we want to do an etheric projection, we connect the shoulder points down to the 2nd chakra, and we transfer up into the subtle etheric body that we're visualizing. And then we can imagine the lines from hara and shoulders going up to the ceiling, right? 3 points, hara and 2 shoulders, ceiling. And then float up those lines of force with your etheric body. Same thing with the astral body at the heart. Shoulders down to heart, visualize an astral body, and then imagine those lines of force, shoulders to heart, going up to the ceiling. Again, those are 4 points, shoulders, heart, ceiling, and then go up those lines. And again, remember, just like we can move the ceiling down in our visualization, we can move that point down, and we float up higher each time. Essentially, what that's doing is embracing the Anahata ideas of sacred geometry. It's giving you very clear focal points for moving up, towards the ceiling, essentially. And it's helping us to know which body we're using. That's the most advanced way that I do this when I'm working to get out. It's effective. It still stays aligned with Anahata meditation. And it doesn't do the rotation, but that leads to the idea, which I know at least one of you are starting to feel, the rotating tetrahedron. So let's talk about that. When you hear about the Merkaba teachings, they talk about rotating the star tetrahedral fields and then flying around in your rotating Merkaba field, which is a rotating star tetrahedral pattern. The rotation in that way is kind of nauseating for me. I don't like it. I don't feel the need for it. So I just don't do that. But when you're rotating, essentially, you can rotate the grids because they are they're like your grid is part of your subtle energy body. And when I rotate in my body, I could rotate my astral body with me, and I could certainly rotate those grids. Yeah, they spin. I don't know if I can tell you so much about why they need to spin, but they do. Just like I can spin around in my office chair here. I don't have to, but I can. And if there's some benefit of spinning around in my chair, but I get dizzy if I spin in my chair. Same thing with the rotating fields. I don't really feel the need for it. You're like, oh, but it helps you to fly. I got other ways to fly that don't make me feel nauseous. So I know that sounds cool if you study Merkaba stuff about rotating star tetrahedral fields. And yeah, you know, there's merit to any of this stuff, but if we're just talking out-of-body travel, there's no need for rotating the fields like that. But rotating your consciousness so you can look down through the back of your head can be helpful. All right, so you can practice with those lines of force as you're learning the other techniques. Before I tell you anything else, and check the time, which might be it for tonight, any questions about any of that at all? So let's open to Q&A discussion. And then it's been 3 hours. So I think I taught you a whole lot about how to leave your body and the techniques and the recordings to do it. And then there's still more to teach. But I think we can probably wait till next time. And then next time we'll start talking about samadhi in relationship to out-of-body travel for sure. We need to talk about Anand samadhi, asmita samadhi, and ideally the non-dual states of samadhi as well. All right. Question answer time. Let me give you guys a moment. Your words were very helpful in addition to the recordings. Okay, great, thank you. Yeah, I don't know how much you guys, and I can't see your faces, if you're like, oh yeah, we get it, or what the hell is he talking about? So I hope 3 hours of explanation helps you to get a much better sense of out-of-body travel. Let me give a couple other simple techniques since we have a few minutes before a 3-hour class, and because this one's really easy. Make a list of 7 locations. And here's how to do it. So like literally make a physical list. Location 1 is the corner of your bedroom. And that's going to be your first place to fly to. Right? So pick any corner of your bedroom. Don't be indecisive. Just be like upper left corner from where you're sitting, you're lying down. And you think, and all you have to do is make that like a trigger phrase. You think number 1 and you float there. So when you get out of your body, you think 1. But this is a technique that you mentally rehearse. You're not necessarily trying to do it in this exact way. It's not like your out-of-body travel is going to go to all 7 of these locations. This is a visualization technique, but write them down. So number 1, upper left corner of your room. Number 2, outside of your house, like in your front yard or wherever you're going to visualize being there, like out by your car or something. That's like number 2. Number 3, the stop sign down the street. Number 4, the gas station, or wherever you want to go, it's up to you. The gas station down the street, or go somewhere even more pleasant. The ashram down the street. And then number 5, somewhere in that land, whatever. You're picking the locations you go to, but you're flying in your visualizations from location to location. Number 7, so do number 6, of course, wherever you want to go, but it's like all on the way to number 7. The time I did this, successfully, but I don't remember it. I told you the story. My friend saw me there out of my body, but I didn't remember it. But what I visualized was number 1, bedroom. Number 2, front yard. Number 3, stop sign. Number 4, down the street further, other stop sign. Number 5, the road down to his house. Number 6, outside of his house. Number 7, in his bedroom, sending healing energy because he was a friend who was sick. So I'm like, I'm going to go send him lots of light and healing. He told me I successfully did it, but I don't remember doing it. But I kept visualizing 1, 2, 3, 4, like over and over, up to 7, over and over. And then technically when you do get out of your body for real, just think 7. Or, you know, his name was Brian. I'm just like, all right, Brian's house. All right, Brian, just right there wherever he is, sending him healing energy. So, but again, you can choose the target destination, whatever you want to do when you get there, but mentally rehearse with those numbers and to visualize flying from place to place. All right, if you go through the rest of the workbook, you'll see tips for improving the probability of projection. I'll mention a couple off the top of my head. Read books on out-of-body travel. You're not necessarily looking for other techniques. The stuff I'm teaching works. What you're looking for are stories after stories after stories. Just read the books, because all you'll be doing is visualizing out-of-body travel, and visualization is a way to lead towards a real experience. So visualize it a lot by reading the books on it. And they're really enjoyable reads. And you will hear other techniques that they use, and you might find them beneficial for you. Other techniques. Vegan raw food diet. You're going to be feeling grounded. You can't necessarily do it long term. I know I think two of you now are doing a long-term fruit fast. Good, but you know how that feels. But that's the best way to leave your body. Again, kind of like a fasting raw food thing. If you're fasting, you probably don't sleep as well. So raw food, you don't necessarily sleep as well. But you don't necessarily need to sleep as much. You just can't do that long term. A very eliminative diet like that is not sustainable, but if you're trying to leave your body, that's a really good thing to be doing. Definitely, if you can, I'm always an advocate of it, please, for the sake of all animals, try to eliminate eating animals. If you ever want to sludge your Kundalini and really thicken your life force energy, just eat meat. It's a prescription for overactive Kundalini is to eat meat. So keep trying to get more and more subtle, like let go of red meat, let go of chicken and turkey. Turkey would be better than chicken. Chickens are kind of, and chickens are crazy, chaotic energy. Turkey's a bit more chill, but still we can let go of eating turkeys, and then eventually just fish, and eventually maybe even letting go of fish. Not necessarily for long term, because your body might need that, but while you're trying practicing out of body stuff, then vegetarian, and then the more you can get to vegan, meaning no animal products at all, that's even better. And the more raw food, meaning you're not even cooking your food, even better. When I was doing that, I was flying out of my body like literally every night. Literally every night I could have an out-of-body experience, but that's really hard to eat that way long term. So that's like a temporary thing. Longer term retreats, lock yourself away from the world and just ascend only 6th chakra, 7th chakra, and then only focus on all this out stuff. Just visualizing the etheric body, moving up into it, visualizing the ceiling, moving towards it, visualizing the 1 to 7 technique, and just you're only focused on being out. And yeah, if you can do like a week retreat or something. I have an RV. I went to Colorado and part of one of my journeys all around the country. And I remember I stayed in Colorado for like 2 months, but I lived in my RV for a year in like 2007. And I was, for a year, I barely worked. I just traveled around the country, paragliding and, focusing on this kind of stuff. So the longer you can just get away from the world, that can be really helpful. Other techniques, head facing north, not techniques, but probabilities to increase the ways of being to increase the probability of projection. Align your head facing north. Robert Monroe looked through all of his journals for how the body was positioned. And I did that too after he did. I'm like, I wonder. And I went through like, where was my bed? Where was my house at the time? Yeah, head facing north by far is the best. Head facing east, second best. Right now, my head is still facing west where I lie in my bed, and I just like that because of the way it is in the room. So if I change that, though, it's going to seriously increase the probability of projection. So head facing north for sure. Not south, it'll feel like you're upside down. Those are the main things, and there might be some other tips in the workbook. Read the books, purify your diet, definitely stop suppressing your emotions, use all those recordings. Yeah, everything I taught you is enough to start having the experience, but you can see it's very advanced stuff. It can take many years of spiritual practice, so don't get discouraged. Just keep doing it, and then realize there might be stages in your life where you just can't do it. And like right now, yeah, I'm not leaving my body, even though I'm doing a lot of this stuff. Believe me, as much as I meditated today on this, I should be flying out of my body, but I'm not, because I'm here fulfilling my mission. And the truth is, I don't want to feel so weird being half in and out of my body. So it's a really good idea to stay grounded when you really need to be here. But if you have the time, the energy, and the money, you don't have to be working. I don't have to be working. Like I'm financially free, but I am here fulfilling a mission, and that's so important. And also, like I said, you'll get to stages of samadhi where there's no need for out-of-body experience at all. Samadhi is far more fulfilling, and it's not as strange to the physical body as out-of-body travel. With samadhi, you're not having to take your energy bodies out of your physical body. But we'll talk about that later. There's more advanced teachings coming your way. And to me, samadhi is, I don't want to say infinitely more satisfying, but more satisfying than out-of-body travel. And out-of-body travel is pretty amazing. So yeah, samadhi is more than fulfilling enough if you're not leaving your body. But if you feel inclined to do so, I hope you know, I am always recommending to work to do it if you want to do it for sure. Okay, someone said, again, I'm not using names for the recordings. The third meditation is connected to the second meditation question. I'm a little bit confused, or is this one is just before sleeping? Okay, so if we're talking about the 3 meditations in the recordings, those are numbers 8, 9, and 10. We have the breaking coincidence meditation. That'd be 1. 2 is the extending towards the ceiling. And then, moving up to the ceiling, which we can use those lines of force for. And then the third one was the rotation. They're all connected, and you just practice them. They don't have to be practiced in order. They don't have to feel like they're linked, but they kind of are, right? Because you're learning how to rotate, you're learning how to float out, and you can do that in any order. When you do meditation 11, again, meaning the recording 11 of the out-of-body system, then 11 is all of those, and yeah, they're very intimately connected. So do number 11, and you'll get a sense of what it's like to rotate, to connect your etheric body, to rotate it, and then to float out is essentially what you're doing. So yeah, it's all connected. It's all helping you to, they're kind of like their exercises. Like if you go to the gym, you don't always have to do your pecs first, right? You don't always have to do the bench press, and then you don't have to do your shoulders, and then you don't have to do your back, and then your biceps and triceps. It doesn't have to go in that order. You could potentially start with biceps, then triceps, then shoulders, then back, then chest. All right, somebody might disagree, but the point is you have 5 major components of that, and you don't have to do it in order. So that's how those meditations work. But are they all connected, just like your pecs and your back and all that? Of course. But yeah, the order doesn't matter as much. Okay, so let me know if that helped for that person who asked that. And then, is that the crown of the head facing north? Yes. So yeah, like put the head of your bed where your pillows are, where your head is going to be. That's facing north, your feet are facing south. I imagine this is the magnetic lines of force on the planet. Remember, the planet is a sphere. It has a north and a south pole. It has a star tetrahedral field. And what you're doing by turning, I'm not a huge fan for me right now. For me personally, at this stage of my life, like I've been saying, I'm me leaving my body. I want you guys to do it if you want to do it. So if I were really determined, I would shift my bed where my head faces west to face north for sure. So yes, let's answer that one. All right, awesome. Okay, yeah, I think that's good for now. We covered the Anahat, we covered the 1 to 7 thing, we covered the recordings. You guys can practice with those recordings. You know where to find the workbook now. You get a better sense, hopefully, of etheric, astral, and soul travel projections. We covered third eye and lucid dreaming. That's pretty thorough. I'll feel good next time about moving into the deeper samadhi teachings, and we'll touch upon astral projection again with that for sure. All right, great. Thank you, everybody. I appreciate that word. Amazing teaching. Thank you. I'm going to stop recording just to keep this at a 3-hour recording. But if you guys have any questions, I'll stay here with you and we'll cover that for sure. All right, thank you. I appreciate everybody. We'll be here next week. Same link, same meeting room, and we'll go into even deeper stuff. So good night, all.